Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Great. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Fantastic. I'm a little dirty. I need to take a
Fantastic.
shower, but other than that, I'm doing quite well.
Nice.
You can tell my hair is not as quite as
Ah,
fluff and dry as normal. Right
you
now, it's
know,
got a little bit of.
it's
It's okay
gorgeous.
though.
It's almost as good looking as
Thank
my
you.
hair.
Yeah, your hair's really good. It's really nice and combed very
Yes.
neatly. Yeah, I
Thanks.
can see you take good care of it.
I do.
Better care
Try.
than I take of my hair.
Well,
I just let my
I
hair
don't
grow.
know
So that's
about
whatever.
that. I don't comb it very often, only like all day.
I don't.
Because it's like a
I
nervous
oh
twitch.
wow.
Like I sit there with
Yeah.
my
Well,
beard comb and I just like, it's just kind of like,
I see that. Yeah. I don't ever comb
how'd I get
mine.
to, do I have hair growing out my nose?
Almost never.
I actually
No,
try
you're
and
talking about your
trim it
mustache.
usually. Uh,
Oh yeah, I I feel you there. Every once in a while, I'll
it's
be like,
crazy.
why is that there?
Once you turn 29, you'll have hair growing out of your ears and your nose, and then you might get like rip
Yeah.
torn eyebrows, and then like those like they
Mm.
like crawl off your face at people, you know.
Oh yeah.
It's
Yeah.
wild. So you gotta like, I mean, it's all part of your
Hmm.
grooming, routine and stuff. And so,
That's
yeah,
right.
my face is my own personal bonsai tree. I, you know,
Yeah. What
it's
a
just how
statement.
it
I love
goes.
that. That's
Yes,
great.
roar.
Hmm.
Ellie and Lay, wow, it's good to see you guys. Um,
Yeah,
and
that's awesome, Lay.
Pear,
Congratulations.
welcome. Wow, good to see
Yeah,
you.
we've got quite the crew here
We
today.
we got a
You know
crew,
the.
like crew that, yeah, like you guys are legends,
Hmm.
legendary.
Legends have arrived. Yeah, that's cool.
Static was clean shaven last time you were here. Yeah, and I was definitely clean shaven last time you were here. I'm pretty sure.
Hmm.
I just grew this beard over the last year. I think I've had it for
Yeah.
a year. I really like it though. I like having it, but it's crazy. Like it's hard to find beard oil because
Really?
they all have fragrances, and so like I got some stuff,
Oh,
and I'm kind of
yeah.
sensitive to fragrances, and so it's like. So I put this beard oil on my beard and I like put it in place, and it's made by Amish people. It's like the Amish kind,
Hmm.
and 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 I immediately had a headache, like within like 1 minute.
Oh, yeah. And then that's annoying because it's right in there.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
right at my face, and
That's
so like it's like there the whole time. So, bro, make your.
um
You know what,
yeah,
Ellie? I
LED,
would
that's
I
a good
would
idea.
love some advice on how to make some beard oil that has no scent to it.
Hmm.
That would be great.
How are you with like natural products? Like no scents, but they have a scent because they're natural.
It depends.
It depends
because
on the
because
okay.
because the
So
beard oil that I had did not have any fragrance, quote unquote fragrance in it. It just
right.
had a bunch of
But if it's
different
made out of
essential
like
oils. I think
yeah.
lavender is one that bothers me. Um,
Yeah,
so
that's a really strong one, so I understand that.
it kind of just depends on which one it is. And I think there's probably like in a lot of fragrances, the chemical makeup of them, I think I have some kind of sensitivity to because some fragrances don't bother me. Like
Yeah.
my son wears cologne, and his cologne doesn't bother me.
Mm.
So it's weird.
There are two our our nose is highly sensitive to two chemical structures, and I can't remember one. I think it's a hydrogen-based structure, and the other one is a sulfur-based structure.
Ah,
And so the reason
well,
we can
sulfur for
smell
sure.
yeah. So microorganisms, right? Sulfur-based. But then poop, sulfur-based. You can smell
Mm.
it because there's a sulfur compounds in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you know what poop is. But guess this. This is pretty great. Flowers. Not all flowers, but most flowers that intend to attract bug life. They're sulfur-based,
Mm.
and especially roses. And roses smell like toots because your toots smell like roses because they're both sulfur. They're really similar sulfur compounds, but they're
Mm-hmm.
not exactly the same. But anyhow, so Yeah, there's actually more truth to
That's
the
interesting.
saying my farts smell like
I
roses
used to
than
say
you
that.
think
I used to say that
chemically.
to my kid. Actually, a matter of fact, like last weekend when I had my kids over, like
Yeah.
they were, they were, they were like, "Dad, you used to always say your farts smell like roses." I'm like,
Hmm.
yes, but you forgot the other part because I was like, yes, they smell like roses, but they smell like roses covered in poop.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah, they smell like roses covered in fruit. That's hilarious. That's great. No, I don't actually think roses and toots smell the same, and I don't think toots smell like roses, but
if
they are
you
chemically
if they
very similar.
did, I would be curious about what you ate. You
Roses,
might have eaten something funny.
because you can eat roses.
You can.
Mm-hmm.
I've never
So
eaten a rose
maybe.
before. Maybe I should try it. They seem like
You ever
they'd
had rose
probably
oil?
be bitter.
They're not. They're not too bitter.
Oh,
They're like well, the fun thing about eating a rose petal is the texture is like, like weird.
yeah.
Like because the it's like grippy and rubbery, but also like paper and like just in your mouth shreds. It's not like rubber where it's chewy, it just
Mm-hmm.
feels like it's rubber.
Hmm.
And that's the part that's weird. It's fun. But yeah, the taste is almost like not even there's almost no taste at all.
Hmm. Have you eaten rose
Yeah, I
petals?
have eaten.
You have eaten
Yeah, have
rose
you?
petals. I've never eaten a rose petal.
Yeah.
I've eaten
Yeah,
nettles,
I am speaking from experience. Nettles. Oh. Yeah, I've had
stinging
nettle, but
nettles.
I've only had their what is that? I've had like nettle tea and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is crazy because you get into the nettles when they're like out in the wild, and you're out exploring in the woods or whatever, and you come across some nettles and you brush up against them, and then they sting you, and so then you're like, and it hurts. It hurts so bad, like it stings for like an hour, and you're like,
Oh, yeah, okay.
ah. I remember like I was so excited. We found this little creek behind this house I was living in. We had this 40-acre, woods and fields and stuff behind this house that I was renting. And so we're like, let's go exploring. And so we go out there and we're like, I think there's water over there. I think there's like a little creek or something. And so I go and there's this big tall foliage or whatever. And I just like pushed it aside so I could see, what was behind it.
Mhm.
And it was all nettles,
Ooh.
all of it. And like all
Ooh.
on my arms were just nettles. And like for the next hour, I'm just like, this is terrible. Ugh.
Uh,
But
isn't
but
that amazing?
if you wear like leather gloves and long sleeves, you can harvest them, and then you boil them, and then you change the water, and you boil them again, and then you change the water again, and then you boil them again, and then you can eat them. And then
Mhm. That's what I
and they taste like asparagus.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, because 'cause I've only ever had their, like, leaves that were, like, for tea
Yeah.
or whatever, but
Uh-huh.
I've never actually had, like, the full plant. That's kinda fun.
You have to you can
Yeah.
only
So
eat
yeah,
like
that
the
sounds
very
good.
top, just the youngest part of the shoot, because then they get really
Oh,
fibrous and like
that's that's
like
how it is with,
like celery on
have you ever heard of
steroids.
yeah. Um, have you ever heard of, fiddleheads?
Yes, I've heard of them.
Yeah. Okay, fiddleheads, they're ferns, but they're baby ferns. And you can only eat ferns when they're small little babies, and you'll know they'll curl up like that. They'll look like little heads of a fiddle, and they're
Mhm.
called fiddleheads.
Yeah.
But you still have to do the exact same thing. You have to harvest them when they're very young. You can't eat them like when they're past that point. You
Mhm.
can find them as part of a plant, but you have to pick them then, and then you have to boil it like 2 times,
Mhm.
and then once you've done that, then you can eat them.
Yeah.
And apparently they're pretty good. I've never had them, but I would like to try it someday.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interesting foods out there I'd like to try that we just don't have in grocery stores,
Yeah.
you know? By the way,
Wait, so
Master Lay,
Master
was that
Lisa, go
yeah,
ahead.
go on. I
I
was
was
wondering if that was a topic because you had said, about your job and how things are going. That would be worth covering as a topic. You said it's getting too corporate-y.
Oh, yeah, we could definitely talk on that. Yeah,
But
that'd be cool because we have one topic. I think we just have one topic in our queue right now.
mhm.
So if you have topics you would like us to talk about, we can definitely do that. You can share it in the chat. Um, you're open to conversation. All right, perfect. Maybe
Mhm.
we will start with that one after all the disclaimers and whatever stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so if you have something you want us to talk about, Pear, you always have topics you could bring. Absolutely, bring them. But
You're so welcome.
yes, share them in the chat. You can share them. You can go to don'tworrywednesday.com and submit a topic there. Um, and those are the best ways to do it. If you're here on the live stream, you can just drop it in the chat. We'd be happy to talk about it. And then, but if we're like in the middle of a topic and then you put it in the chat when we're in like the middle of a topic, it, you might have to remind us when we're done with the topic we're talking about, because sometimes,
Mhm.
the chat can scroll and and then we forget because we're people and our mental capacity is limited and all that kind of stuff. We don't have infinite minds.
Unfortunately.
Right.
Maybe one day.
Ryan's about the closest to having an infinite mind.
Wow, guys. If that's true, y'all suck. That's real bad for you guys. That's really bad news for you guys, because my mind is like this, and like, man, if that's the height of humanity, I am so sorry.
Ryan is the height of all humanity.
If that's the peak of brain power,
Yes,
if that we
yes,
all get to have, like, that
yes.
is not looking good for the human race, because, man,
Yeah.
some of these days.
All right. So cool. All right, Master Late. Yes. Keep sending it and then let us know when it's when you think it's done. Cause yeah, I know YouTube has like the character limit and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of times for a topic,
Mhm.
you gotta like put it in a few chats, I guess. But while you're doing that,
Mhm.
I will go through the legal stuff, which is just, hey, we're not professionals. We're not
Yeah.
professional therapists. We're not counselors. We're not attorneys. If you come up with some kind of a legal question, we're not doctors. We're not professional help in any kind of way. And we're not a substitute for any of that kind of advice. So a lot of times we will refer you and say, hey, you probably want to talk to a counselor or a therapist or a psychiatrist or a counselor or an attorney maybe, or a policeman or something. You might want to talk to somebody, because we are not a substitute for that. But we just want to help you in any way we can. We can offer some perspective. We can love you, and we can come up alongside you and just try and make it a little bit easier, especially because struggles. It's a struggle to go through struggles, right?
Wow,
And
isn't it?
it is. And so sometimes it's just great to know that you're not alone, and whatever struggle it is that you're having, I can guarantee that somebody in the history of humanity has dealt with something similar. It's like
And gotten through it.
and gone through it. Yep. And there's information out there to learn about all kinds of stuff. Like, so it's good. Um, I don't know. I'm on a learning trend right now. It's pretty crazy. Learning a lot about
Yeah.
psychology, learning a lot about like different things. I've gotten a lot of really good audio books that I've been listening to while I'm working, and it's really cool to be absorbing information and growing, and to feel like you're growing. And I don't know, it's just really cool. So, yeah. So it looks like, wow, Master Lay, this is going to be a good topic. I can, I can
Mhm.
see it unfolding here, and I'm just like, yeah, let's go. Not that yeah, you're having a struggle, but yeah, we've got something to talk about. Looks like it's got some nuance to it. So um yeah, so anyway, that's that. We're not professional help, and we're not a substitute for professional help, and anything we say or do cannot be held against us, and it's just for entertainment purposes, and you probably shouldn't listen to us because we're probably wrong, and that probably covers it. How about that?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's good legal disclaimer. Um,
Yeah.
so, but we're gonna
Yeah.
do our
Oh,
best.
looks like we have another topic
We do.
in the
Oh,
Don't Worry Wednesday
somebody
dot
sent
com.
us one. Let's go. Thank you to whoever that was.
Thank you.
Do you want to process that?
I will.
All right, cool. Yes, that's right, Pear. We're not always wrong. We're just civilians. We're trying to help our viewers. You're absolutely right. We just want to help. We just want to be here for you guys because sometimes it's crazy. Sometimes when you're going through something, it's really lonely. And sometimes when you're going through something, it can require being lonely. I remember I was in a Discord chat with somebody at one point in time, and they're like, you sound like you're kind of lonely," and I was just like, I mean, yeah, because I'm opening up some really old wounds, and I was going through this. I'm actually in the middle of going through something called shadow work, where you dig into like the parts of yourself that you have hidden from the world and from yourself. And so sometimes as you go through that, you have to touch on old wounds, and it can be really emotional, and it can be really difficult, to go through some of those stuff because you're dealing with old memories that were defining memories for you, and things that happened that kind of set courses in your life that now years later you're still living out those scripts. And so it can be really tough to go through that, but sometimes being alone is where you need to be in order to go through that. Some of these things aren't done publicly. In fact, a lot of growth that we have is not done publicly. It's done privately. It's done in the quiet. It's done in the silence and when you're alone. And so yeah, so I told this person, I was like, "Yeah, I am kind of lonely, but some paths require that." It's just how that is. If you're gonna grow, I'm the definition of I'm just a girl. I'm just a girl. Which is that's funny. It's funny that you say that because yesterday I was in a Discord chat. I was at work and I was messaging with Twashu. I don't know, Twashu, if you're here, but I was messaging with Twashu, and she goes, um, we were maybe gonna VC while I was at work because I was working by myself, and a lot of times when I'm building cabinets and stuff, I can be in a VC and whatever. But at that point in time, I was doing math, and and math to me requires like all of my mental energy. I don't like doing
Yeah,
math, because
sure.
it just requires so much of my brain. And I was like, I was doing a bunch of math, and then I had to call Kyle and talk to him about it, and now I got to do a whole bunch more math now after that conversation, and so probably I'm not going to be in VC. And so she sent me this picture, and it said, "All right, good night, math girl."
What?
I know. I was like, "Math girl? What are you talking about? I'm building cabinets. This is manly math. Like, come on."
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was doing math yesterday, and I had to step aside, and I'm like, "What on earth? I've never done this calculation before. How do I find the point between two axes, like on a grid, and snap to the closest, but recognize all of the closest ones?" And I'm like trying to figure out the math of that, and I at some point I gave up, and I was just like, "Hey Google, how do you do this?" And then Google's like, "It's actually really simple. It just sounds difficult because you wrap your brain around it and it's really hard, but it's actually really simple." And then it showed me, and I was like, "Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I was halfway there,
Mhm.
It's not so bad." But at the same time, it was beyond experience.
Yeah. Was this in coding for the game?
Yeah,
Right
yeah, it
on.
was.
Right on.
Hmm.
I can imagine there'd be some math involved with that.
Oh, it's so much, but it's fun. I don't mind it. I like it, but
All right.
sometimes you're on something and you're like, actually, it happens to me a lot where I do something. I'm like, I've never had to do a math problem like this before. First, I
Mhm.
have to invent it, and then I have to solve it. It's
Like I have
great.
this problem. I
Like
need
that
an
happens to me.
equation that I have to come up with for this. Like
Yeah, that's right.
you've
That
entered
happens all the
that
time.
realm.
Hmm. It's fun.
That's crazy. And it's so funny
Mhm.
because like I remember taking math in school and being like, when am I ever going to use this ever except for maybe,
Oh, sure.
figuring out my money situation or whatever, right? And
Mm.
but then you get into a profession that, like in cabinet making, there's measurements and you got to come up with all this kind of stuff. You're
Well,
coding
even music,
stuff, and yes, music is mathematical for
a little bit,
sure. However, it's different. It's more ethereal.
because you feel it. Yeah, it's more an experience thing, and I mean,
Mhm.
you get things like stuff with thresholds and understanding like the frequencies and so on, but like
Mhm.
you kind of just don't care about the math. You just play with knobs and you go, "Oh, that's it."
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
because you're listening as you go through this, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, you find that parameter and then you see what number it is when it sounds right. And so then you're like, okay, that's
Mhm.
the number I need, it's
Mhm. Yeah, you don't do the math. You just look at the number.
and then quick
Mhm.
save it as a preset.
That's right. Yep.
So
That's
then
right.
you can just get right back to it again. you know.
Mhm.
But I'm just a girl. Dun, 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 dun.
So I did process that, by the way, um, and
Okay.
it's ready to go. We've got 2 topics and we've got lays as well.
Okay.
So we've got 3 topics.
Perfect.
One of them's coming in.
Yeah. How much longer is yours, Lay?
It's a question mark.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm. So I'm like, we might start with one if you're gonna be around for a little bit. We could come to that afterward. But if you're almost done, then we can go for it.
Mhm.
But you are number one, Lay.
Wow.
The chat says so.
Dang. That's true. Rightly
Mm-hmm.
so.
Yep.
Mhm.
So proud.
I
Here we
know.
go.
Okay.
All right, perfect. Cool. So we're gonna start with yours, Lake, because it's right here in front of us. So, yes. So thank you for this topic. I'm gonna read it out
Yeah.
loud. You guys can scroll through the chat while I read it, and then yeah. So here we go. For the topic, a bit of context. I work in esports. More specifically, I work in broadcast crew, aka help with the live transmissions of professional game tournaments online. While originally the work was very laid back and chill, it has also been very ambitious. I've been to Montreal, Canada for an event. I've been to St. Julian's, Malta many times, or multiple times. For legal reasons, I'd rather not mistakenly disclose a white label event because of NDAs.
Mhm.
I can't say what I worked on, but I can confidently say that I've been to some S tier events as a crew. That's awesome, man. Um,
Yeah.
Lately, my company has been downsizing drastically. 20% total size layoffs, followed by yet another 20%. The layoffs have been
Whoa.
very unprepared for, and they have been very unannounced and sudden.
Wow.
Surprisingly, the layoffs came before the corporification of my job, but now that the company structure had adjusted to the post layoffs, well, it started downside. It started showing.
Mm.
Before, we've never had to write explanations for overtime hours. Now we do. Before, we had like 2 hour platforms total. Nowadays, it's six active HR platforms total. Now it's six active platforms, two discontinued and soon to be dropped. I've had multiple of my senior colleagues who are more experienced, both in terms of how long they've been employed and in terms of talent, fired and sent off. And that hurt the
Mm.
company's soul too. I've had to deal with a little bit of survivor's guilt because of it, but now I'm more annoyed with how many useless things we're forced to do during work hours. You know the common joke. This could have been an email that but turned but that turned to 100. Pointless calls weekly. Usually it's literally just hi, sup, cool, okay, bye. I've felt my passion for the job turn into frustration lately, and while both me and all my close coworkers managed to stop that frustration from impacting our productivity and efficiency, it just stings. Seeing a project of this size fall, lose its soul, become corpified, it feels like I should throw a funeral for it at some point. Wow. I'm sorry
Mm,
you're dealing with that. That's
yeah.
a tough thing to go through. And so the layoffs came before corpification, you said, but it's weird because maybe I don't know. A lot of times, things are in the process of becoming corpified. you
Hmm.
know, like there's negotiation and all this kind of stuff, and so they're trying to get things set for a merger, and so they go through all that stuff, and then they do the merger afterward. So there's there's a possibility that it was related to that. But yeah, and then when they start throwing in all the garbage, extra, busy work, it seems like I don't know, so many meetings are just unnecessary when you get into that kind of a job,
Hmm.
where
Yeah.
and you end up with a whole bunch of people, just moving information around and not actually doing any work. This is why I really like being in the production side of things. I was talking to my friend Kate the other day, and I was talking about, that's kind of where I sit. I sit in production. I don't really sit in management very well because I feel like I'm just wasting a bunch of time. I like to create things. I like to do things. I like to build things. I like to make things, and I like being in that where I feel like I'm doing something rather than just monitoring how stuff is being done. And that's just part of my makeup. And so if I was in your position, Lay, I would be super frustrated too to see all this extra crazy stuff that comes in, and like now you got to handle all this stuff. It just seems pointless at times. Um, so, uh, man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you got to go through it. It sometimes is a fact of life, and so yeah. Um, I'm gonna turn this over to Ryan. I'm gonna see what he has to say about it. I know Ryan has worked in a few uh, positions that were definitely part of large corporate structures, and you feel it at any level in a lot of cases,
Mm.
So, but yes, we also have both been able to kind of free ourselves from that environment as well, and I think we're both happier as a result. but
Sure. Yeah.
yes,
Much.
so I'm gonna turn it over to Ryan, and we'll see what he has to say. So, Ryan.
Yeah, I'll give my best. I think one of the things here is you aren't given a reason, you know?
Hmm.
Like if you had communication with the person who decided to make all these moves, at least you'd know why they're making the moves. Like what's the intention here? Um, and I think that helps a lot. Maybe you do know the intention, but maybe you don't. Or maybe you were told the intention, but that's not actually real. I think it's nice to have the opportunity to really understand why things are happening the way they are, or why the decisions are being made the way they are, because it can bring solace and peace, or if not, give you direction on what you need to do in your life to handle it.
Hmm.
Because it's like if they're downsizing because they're just not making enough money because esports isn't doing as well as it needs to be in order for them to make that the kind of money they need, or whatever, like they've been like shot in the foot by some of the deals they've done, whatever. Maybe they just had to downsize, and then maybe they hooked up with a team that they're like, hey, can you help us make our company better? And this other team was like, yeah, sure. So they got involved, and they start adding all this extra crap that all the other corporate companies do, and so now your company is becoming corporified, right? That would include all of these meetings, and in for the sake of productivity without actually being productive and only actually reducing productivity, because you still feel like you're at a job and it still costs energy, but you're not doing anything with it, and you're not encouraging people with the meetings. Sometimes meetings can be encouraging and they can get you going. You're like, yeah, I'm pumped about this. This is gonna be awesome. But then other times, it just kind of it makes you feel worn out, makes you feel tired. So, what I'm saying here is try to find the reason. Why is all of this happening? What is the reason for all these changes? Who is making them? If you can find that out, I think it would help you a lot in your life, because you'd feel more confident in your own decisions for what you want to do from there. I know, I mean, this is Joe's story to tell, but one time Joe talked to literally the owner of the company to let them know, like, basically like they should be doing some stuff differently, and so on. And it's really cool. And again, this is Joe's story to tell, but the owner actually sat down with Joe and talked it out with him. And I think probably happily to do so, because they're hearing from their employee who's actually willing to step it up and talk on the issues or whatever. And so if a person actually cares about their company and where it's going, they might make time for an employee. So what I'm trying to say is, you might find yourself here an opportunity to attempt to get a hold of the owner of the company and figure out what the heck is going on, because you're worried for their company and you're invested in their company and you want their company to succeed. You want it to be full of life and not soulless. You want it to be smooth sailing and not all HR, which is, I mean, HR, as you amplify HR, if the HR team is really good, this isn't true, but most our HR teams are crap. Because
that's a tough spot to be in, though, too.
Yeah, it is. It's not their fault, but they're just following what other people are doing and trends and so on, and they're trying to do their best to problem solve, manage, and help people get along. I get it. It's very difficult. So not very many HR teams are really great. They're not the kind of HR teams that make everybody feel free. Instead, the HR team makes everybody feel like they're stepping on eggshells. And as soon as you get stepping on eggshells, you are exhausted. You don't want to be where you're at. You don't want to talk to the people you're around, because you're all stepping on eggshells. So it's awful, right? I've seen it. And I've seen it in my own life with, people, specific people. And I've seen it in companies with, just everybody suddenly having to step on eggshells and comply to this rule and that rule and et cetera. And it's not just exhausting. It is draining before you even step into your workplace, because like, okay, I'm going to work, which means stepping on eggshells all day long, feels awful. So I think one of the best things you can do is actually just literally yourself try to get a hold of the owner and sit down with them for a coffee or something, and like literally just talk about it. And that's probably one of the best things you could do, not just for your position, but for theirs as well, because it sounds like if they don't know the experience on the low end, what's been going on, or they're aware of it, but they don't necessarily feel it. I mean, that could really make a difference for the company to be a voice in that. But also, if you find out that the person is just like, you literally sit down with them and you kind of figure out who they are, you kind of know the direction that the company's going to run in, because the owner is the owner, and the company is going to be, to some degree, an echo of their personality, of their traits, their good sides and their bad sides. Unless they have completely revoked their own privileges and have given them to other people, and then you deal with that. You said we've tried to raise communications with our global management, but they tried sending us to HR, and then HR has begun a chaotic responsibility ping pong where no one was willing to say the truth. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And by
understand
the
that.
truth,
That's
I mean,
frustrating.
instead of getting, yeah, instead of getting reasons, we were getting reassurances. We're sustainable now. We're on the right path now. Yeah, we have a clean path paved now. But that's not what I asked you, Mr. Human Resources. The question was, what's up, not what's our path forward? Yeah. So that's why I said sometimes you just got to bypass that. If you can figure out how to do that, there's probably, if you use your resources, you'll likely find out that you can do that. We have some in our company, Steve, who has no problem just finding the CEOs of a company on LinkedIn and sending them a direct message.
Yeah.
And guess what? We've gotten responses because of that. We've gotten a hold of people who can actually, like, we were stuck in limbo, in a loop limbo, where like we asked for something and then it would just kind of go like, yeah, we're on it, and then it get redirected, and then basically it would never get solved. It was like that. It was a problem for, I think, an entire year, maybe like 2 years. I don't know. It was a really long time where we had this one problem with this company who one of our songs wasn't being
It was a whole album.
treated. Yeah. Oh, a whole album wasn't being treated properly.
It was like 10
in terms of monetization and so
songs.
on.
Lots of songs.
Yeah. So we Steve, he was just like, okay, I'm gonna solve this, and then he just found the CEO of the company we were going through, and then they talked to them, and then guess what? Problem was solved pretty soon after that. So it's worth a shot. You don't have to. I should start a LinkedIn account. Yeah, and you might not find them on LinkedIn. You might find them on Facebook. You might find them in somewhere else. But it's definitely worth reaching out to the owner of a company if that company is suffering without them knowing or understanding why or how, because it is suffering. And that's not just your experience. It's not just that your experience is diluted or incorrect, that you've misunderstood what's going on and you have a certain feeling about it. And so that feeling overrides the reality. What you're dealing with, Lay, is an actual, is something like, yeah, you've got this feeling, but that feeling is echoed throughout the company right now. And that feeling needs to shift, or else people are not going to be happy working where they're working. And that's going to reduce quality of everything. And you don't want that for a company that literally operates in the realm of public service online, especially for esports. Because, I mean, if someone's not caring enough about their job in that platform, I mean, obviously many things can go wrong, and it's a lot of people that experience it, because you got an entire online community that suddenly gets not the experience that they hoped for, and they might not join another event. You get, you know what I mean? Like, that stuff happens. I've experienced that myself. I remember there were multiple situations where we had, I was used to watch and follow StarCraft, and there were times where the crew that was meant to be handling that event undershot, and it backfired because the whole online experience whole online community got to experience it, and it was just like, yeah, it's not there. It's not there. This is a dead. It's never going to be. Like, basically, the feeling was like, this game is now, like, the events for it are dead. This game will never be as big as it used to be. It's always going to be a fraction of the size now because of this poor management of this particular event and so on. And that stuff happens. And so it's pretty important to have the feelings of hype and joy, and like, you're being treated fairly and everybody's really having excited to be there and doing their job because they want it to be. That is a huge game changer, and that's how you felt, and that's how you want to feel. And so it's definitely worth reaching out if you can find a way to get a hold of them. I think that's your best bet here. That's the best way forward for you and their company, is to actually just get a hold of someone who can actually do something. You don't like, I get that there's a hierarchy for a reason, right? But the hierarchy is not designed so that communications are slowed. Hierarchies of management, the design of them is not to slow communication. It's not to reduce the effectiveness of someone's word. It's meant to do the opposite. It's meant to amplify the words of their crew. It's meant to amplify the speed of communication between lowers and highers. Right? That's the
You would hope
actual
so.
role that if your company's working at maximum power and everything's perfect, that's how it is. That's how it should be.
That's how it
and that's how
should
it does
be.
perform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem is when you get people
But
in
the
the middle
reality
and
is,
like HR
yeah.
and stuff, when they're like, when nobody wants to take
Mhm.
accountability for anything and they're trying to not get sued and they're, you know, like, so you got to
Yep.
be careful what they say. And yeah, so
Mhm.
it can be really difficult sometimes to get
Oh,
something
absolutely.
done.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. And so, if all of that stuff is getting in the way, management, HR, etc., then it's better to bypass it for the sake of the company and for the sake of yourself, for the sake of the owner, for the sake of everybody, for the sake of management. It's better to bypass a system that's failing so that you can get that system working again.
Mm.
Right? It's like with anything. Sometimes you have to bypass the system that's failing in order to get it working again. Like you've got a machine like it's made to like, I don't know, like you got a machine that's like to saw something, okay, woodworking, you know, and it breaks. And you're like, okay, well, I have to bypass the shell of this thing and the security breaches and all this, unscrew it, open it up, get to the actual root components of it that make it work and look at it and address them, physically handle them.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you got it working, then rest of the features that are supposed to be making this and helping you fix it if it breaks, etc. Then those will start working again, and then you're like, cool, hey, I've got a working saw. You put it back together, and it's as good as new. And so, yeah, sometimes you have to just bypass. And I know that's scary, and they might not see you. They might not. There might be a case where no matter what you do, you don't get recognized, you don't get seen, you don't get heard.
Mm-hmm.
But at least you tried.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best I have for you. And I encourage you to do that. And I really hope you do. Even if it's like, sounds scary. And they're going to be, and management will be mad at you for bypassing them.
Sure.
And HR will be mad at you for bypassing them.
Yep. And they might try to block
Who cares
you.
who's mad? Yeah. And they might try to block you. Yeah. Yeah.
Like what happened
in
with
the
your
end,
when you tried to contact global management and then they just sent it over to HR. I almost said ER.
Yeah.
The ER.
Yeah.
The HR. And yeah,
Yeah,
when that kind of
ER.
stuff happens, they're just like, well, this isn't my job to handle this. This is HR's job. This is some guy in this department, blah, 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 blah. This isn't my responsibility to handle. You guys handle it. And then they just feed you a whole bunch of word soup because they don't know what to say or they're legally bound to not say certain things. And, it's just,
well, they can't fix a problem they don't have.
well, yeah, they
don't have
the
authority
tools,
to.
right? They don't have the tools or the authority to fix any of that stuff, right? Like, yeah.
You're like, hey, global management, you're the one in charge of this. Can you do this? And they're like sending you to HR, and HR is like, well, we can't do it, and we're not the boss of global management. They're the boss of us.
Right.
What do you want us to do?
Yeah,
we just send it back to them.
Get me in touch with somebody who can do something, maybe. Well, blah, 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 but you deal with me and da, 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 da. There's a hierarchy and you can't talk to them because you talk to me and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. The pride gets in the way. Egos get in the way.
Yep.
At every step of the way you're dealing with people, and people are prideful. People can be greedy. People can be, all power hungry, and it can get messy for sure.
Sure can.
But it's worth the effort,
Yep.
Sorry, Ryan, I didn't mean to totally interrupt you.
No, that's totally fine. Honestly, I didn't really have much else to say. That's like my only one plan. That's the one plan that I know will actually have potentially any fruit to it is really just seeking out the CEOs, the people that are causing the problem, like actually sitting down, having a real, honest, personal conversation with these people. Because
Mhm.
if you're just sending emails and so on, that's not going to cut it. You actually have to like have a real conversation where they can understand and feel you. If you don't have that, you're just going to be waved off.
Mm.
So somehow, some way, the best thing you can do is get a hold of someone who's actually in charge of like the highest of the high you can get, and have a real conversation with them.
Mhm.
And it might not be the boss, it might not be the CEO, it might be CFO, might be something lower, but they have personal communications and they are someone who gets things done.
Mhm.
But you have to get someone who can do that. And that's my only game plan, because that's the only way I've known in my personal life works for doing anything. When you have a problem, if you have a
Mhm.
problem with something, you got to go talk to somebody about it
Mhm.
and handle it person to person.
Mhm.
One person to one person is usually the best thing you can do. Not a team of people to one person, not a team people up to a team people, especially that's even worse.
Mhm.
One person to one person. So when you say like we tried to contact global management, I would say don't play the numbers game. Don't try to make it a we tried. Just do a I contacted personally the CFO and we had a one-on-one conversation.
Mhm.
Try that route, because that route actually works a lot better than my team contacted their team.
Mhm.
Because my team contacted their team, no one's actually in a position to do anything. And then they wavered around and like ask each other who wants to do what, and just like nothing gets done. And they all have, you get, like Joe said, pride issues, so on and so forth.
Mhm.
So try to get that one-on-one. If you can get the one-on-one, then you can see where if anything happens. If nothing happens, then they don't listen to your voice. It's kind of like they don't care about you, and you can decide what you want to do with that,
Mhm.
whether you want to leave or stay. It doesn't really matter.
Mhm.
But that one-on-one is what you need. So that's all. That's the only game plan I see. But Joe might have some other recommendations, so I'm interested in seeing what he's got.
Well, we'll see. It's interesting. I really like that you started with that, Ryan, because yeah, a lot of times you do have to get in touch with somebody who can get something done like that. The person in charge, the president, the owner, whatever. The interesting thing is, it sounds to me like this is a classic story. Like this, what's happening with you, Lay. Um, like so what I'm going to try and go from a little bit of big picture perspective, and then we'll work down to like what you personally can do here. So it's why does this kind of thing happen? Well, you had something that was really successful, and then there may not even really be an owner at this point.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It might be a board of directors, or it might be shareholders that are then, saying they want to see, and
Oh
they're not
man,
involved at all in, the day-to-day
they don't even know how the
anything.
company works.
They're just looking at this company as part of their portfolio. And it's like, we just want
Mm-hmm.
that thing to be profitable so my portfolio can do good. And it's crazy because, people will say money's the root of all evil, and it's wrong. The Bible says so. Money is the root of all evil, and it's not. The Bible
It
actually
doesn't say
says
that.
the love of money is the root of all kinds of evils. And in a lot of ways, we see that in corporification of things. There's this love of money. People want their portfolios to look good. People want their stocks to look good, and their, all their funds and whatnot, right? So they see this company, and it's this private company, and they grow and they make something happen, and it's cool, and there's a soul involved, like you were talking about, Lay. Like there's a soul of the company, there's a heart, and it's, you're doing something cool, and you're doing something fun, and you're making things happen, and it's great. And then it gets big enough to where somebody's like, oh, I want that part of my portfolio of companies or whatever, right? Or there's a board, or there's whatever, and they're like, oh, we should acquire this. And it sounds to me like that's kind of what happened. They downsized, like it became attractive to this group of people that wanted to see it as part of their portfolio to make them more money, because what they want is more money, right? and they see this healthy company that's performing well, and they're like, we should acquire this. And then they go talk to their lawyers, and their lawyers talk to the other people's lawyers, and then they come up and they negotiate and they do all this kind of stuff. Well, we'll buy it if you downsize this, and this, and this, and this, and whatever. And it's not surprising to me that they let go of the senior colleagues with the most experience, because they're generally the most expensive.
Yes. They're getting paid the most.
Yep. And so they're like, oh, all this money is going to these people. Well, if we cut these people, well, that takes care of this big chunk of money. And so now we don't have that in our profit loss column, and it helps our profits look better, and da-da-da-da-da. And so it makes it even more attractive, because the owners, maybe they just saw like, hey, we can sell this company and then we can retire. People do that all the time, where they build a company and they grow it to a certain point where it's sellable, and then they sell it for millions of dollars, and then they can retire. And that's very attractive, especially if you've busted your butt for years trying to build something, and now you're tired, and you're like, we did this, and now we can get rewarded, and so somebody's gonna buy it, and we're gonna be able to walk away and take a break, and we'll have a lot of money to live off of and stuff like that, and it's very attractive. Right? But you're absolutely right, Lay. It loses the soul. Where's the soul at? Where's the heart? And that's one of the reasons why I'm an entrepreneur, because I love the heart of actually doing business, not corporate business, not middle management and pushing paper around and all this kind of stuff. I just like the idea of, being able to do business, being able to create something, make something, and then make something that's valuable to other people so that other people want it. And then we're there doing this stuff, right? That's why I really like privately held companies. And when you have a privately held company, then it's easier to find, there's always somebody in charge. At that point, Ryan's advice would be a lot easier, because it's like, you could locate the owner, right? Or locate the president or whatever, and then you can talk to them and figure out what you need to do from there. When it gets to the point where it's a board of directors answering to shareholders, and then there's a CEO kind of in charge of everything, and blah 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 blah, and when you get to that level, then it gets really frustrating. You get HR departments, and they can't say anything because if they say the wrong word, then you can get sued, and then that's going to be a problem. And so it just gets to be a mess at that point, and it loses the soul. Because what's the point? You said it so well, Lay, where you were like, where was it? Yeah. How are we supposed to entertain in entertainment when you're not passionate? And when all this corporate structure comes in, the passion goes away, because the people at the top don't care. They just look at the bottom line. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, we have a certain national investment fund that shall not be named as key shareholder for our company. That sounds exactly. Yes. Hey, Baca. Nice to see you, buddy. Hey, Mianglios. I'm sorry I didn't say hi earlier, but good to see you too. Yeah, Lay says, I'm the same, Joe. I like it when my hands shape the heart of the product that is then laid into the hands of someone, and then creates a smile on people's faces. Absolutely. Because then you can be passionate. Then you can have, it can feel good, and it's frustrating to be stuck in all that craziness. Now, the money can be good. You can get paid well for a job. It can be a nice, high paying job. Hey, Dill Pickle, nice to see you too.
Hey, yeah.
The stream keeps getting greater and greater. It's going to be even greater when Ryan starts talking again, I promise.
Yeah.
So
I'm just gonna say hi to Baca on my turn. I'm just gonna be like, Baca.
Right on.
Yeah.
But it can be so frustrating in that spot. you know, and you can't go any higher. And sometimes you got to make some kind of bold move to go higher. And maybe that's what, you know, in your case, it's like, I need to find somebody who can actually do something to change things. And they've already made a whole bunch of changes. And now that there's a national investment fund that's handling all this kind of stuff, they don't care at all about the day to day anything. They just care about the bottom line and making sure that that's turning a profit for their shareholders every quarter. And it's soulless. It's lifeless at that point in my mind. It's just it reeks of corporate nonsense. And it's all about money. And it's all about the numbers. And it's disgusting to me. But you're creating stuff. Here's the thing. Being in that spot is very, very frustrating. But you can still find pride in your work. You can still do your job well because you're good at your job. And amidst all this frustrating stuff, you can still do that. And there may come a point late where it gets frustrating enough to where you got to walk away. It might happen. I don't know. Maybe you can change some stuff. Maybe you can get in there and do that. But also, don't forget, you've learned some skills here. You've put together some stuff. And in this day and age, with what you can do on your own, it's a lot of work. But with your knowledge and your skills that you've developed by doing all of this, you could do that on your own with a YouTube channel and a few things, and it'd be small and it'd be some work, but you could do it. It might be hard, but it could be done. And so I wouldn't recommend doing that until it gets so frustrating that you just can't even handle it anymore. And keep trying to change things from where you're at too. And you can have a positive impact on the people around you as well. Lay says, yeah, they probably care about two things: profit going up and costs staying as stagnant or decreasing as much as possible. Yep, absolutely. I've been in a spot where I've had to think about what if I got laid off, so I had to give my life a proper think and have some contingencies. They're not easy, but they're there in case of emergency. Yeah. And it's hard.
Mhm.
Like when you have a job that's paying you regularly and everything, it's hard to think about leaving that, because then it's like, now, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to do life? How am I going to, take care of the things I need to take care of? All that. It's crazy. And, if I went through my backstory of when I had a good paying job and then left it, and all the subsequent crummy, menial jobs I had for a long time while we were trying to build different things, dude, it's there. You can go through a lot just scraping to try and make ends meet. In a lot of ways, I still scrape to try and make ends meet, in a lot of ways. But I don't know, it's wild. But I'm telling you, man, how do you find hope in that type of situation? I don't know. It's even harder when politics get involved. I remember going to, when I worked for an IT service company, I was basically helping to sell IT services. And I remember going to like Chamber of Commerce meetings, BNI, which is Business Network International, different meetings and stuff like that. And it was so crazy because a lot of them, you'd have a few business owners in there, and then you'd have a whole bunch of like politicians, local politicians and stuff. And they're like, the politicians are all there trying to schmooze you to get money out of your company so they can, like they're going to say, well, I'm going to help your company and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, dude, you're a politician. Like, no, you're trying to help your career as a politician. You're not here to try and help me. You're trying to get my money,
Mhm.
or my company's money, so you can further your career as a politician. You have no interest in me whatsoever. And it's crazy because like it's nuts in all that situation. Um
Yeah.
Master Lay says, while I couldn't find employment in my current sector because it's a niche of a niche, I could go back to uni, get a degree, and start teaching English as a language in schools. You could. That's an option too. And sometimes it gets to that point where you got to make a total career change. There's a saying that says the difference between a good job and a bad job is one boss. Like the boss changes, and then all of a sudden it's a really crappy job. I've experienced that before too.
Mm-hmm.
I had a decent boss, and then I had kind of a mid-range boss, and then I had a really difficult passive-aggressive boss, and that was like, ugh. And then I didn't.
I had the opposite happen.
Oh, you went the other direction?
Yeah, I had a really crap boss that got real. Then I had like actually a pretty cool boss, but not like extraordinary. And then that got replaced by an amazing boss, and I was like, "This is great."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. It can go both ways, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand you're in a frustrating spot, Lay, because in your position it's really tough. Ryan talked about talking to the owner of the company, and I saw Nyansai in there saying, "Yeah, I always email companies. It's good." And yeah, that's true. It's a little different depending on where you're at. Ryan talked about what Steve did, where he got on LinkedIn and he found I think it was the operations director of the label or the distributor we were doing. And so he contacted him directly. And, then things were able to get done, right? But that was a little different relationship because we were a client of theirs.
Right.
So we were making them money, and they were helping us make money as a company too, by handling our distribution and whatnot. And so like it was, coming from business to business, company to another company, where it's like, we're a client of yours. Of course, they're going to be like, oh, well, we don't want to lose this client. They're making us thousands and thousands of dollars. So it's like, we want to help them, right? We want to get this thing figured out and get our stuff in order. It's a different ball game when you're an employee and you're trying to reach up there because you've got all these blockers, as you've experienced before, where the HR people, the dreaded HR people. If anyone here is listening and you're in HR, I'm sorry. I don't mean to dog your position or your profession.
Well, like I said before, HR can be good. It's just a lot of times it ends up being politics and stepping on eggshells, and that's when it's bad.
Yep, stepping on eggshells.
It's not everybody's fault. It can be the fault of one person.
Right. Well, and it's not even necessarily their fault. Sometimes it's because their hands are tied because of legal reasons.
Yep. Right. Yep. That's true.
Like, you get in there and everybody's like they're trying to make money and they're trying to not get sued. Right.
Yeah.
And so they're going to come in and they're going to try, and they might set in front of you impossible tasks, and they might make your workload crazy. And it's the biggest double-edged sword, Vaca says about HR. You're absolutely right, my friend. And then Lay says, it's funny, to be fair, because the frustration doesn't come from anger. It comes from indifference. The indifference that comes like a phantom stab to your heart. True. True. And that's what happens when you feel like your company that you work for is now lifeless and soulless. And you're like, I'm attached to myself like this. But yeah, it's silly. You could have swore there's a knife there, but you literally look around and there is no wound. That's emotional damage, right? Like,
wow.
It's tough, man. But golly, I'm sorry. I'm sorry
Mm.
you're going through this. It is a struggle. It's very frustrating, and it can, cause you all kinds of stuff. At some point, here's what I'd recommend you do, like for now, as you go through and you try to change things and stuff. Take time for self-care, okay? Because all this frustration is going to stress you out. It's going to cause your cortisol to get higher. Cortisol is a stress hormone. Like all this stuff can happen. And so take time. Take time to breathe. Drink water. Make sure you sleep. And take care of your body and yourself and your mental health. And as long as the job is still, like workable, as long as it's not so frustrating that you want to just like, you know, I don't know what to say. Like, I could say go postal, but, or something,
Bitch. Leave. Yeah.
you know, as long as it's workable, then keep at it and understand every day that you do that, you're honing your skills. No matter what
Mm-hmm.
you decide to do, it's not a loss. The problem is when we give up, because I've seen a lot of people do this, they die inside, but they keep working their job because they need the paycheck. And then, but as individuals, they become dead. And then they're just going through the motions. Life is just going through the motions because they gave up, right? And it can be really frustrating. I understand. Maybe they were vibrant when they were younger and they were able and they were trying and trying to do stuff, and they ran into enough frustration that they were like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I quit, but I can't quit my job because I need the paycheck. And so then they're just going through the motions and they're kind of dead inside. Yeah. Okay. I've noticed my mental health took a dip in some areas, skipped training, self-doubt where there was previously none. But I took a holiday abroad and nowadays stuff's better. That's great. Sometimes a vacation, sometimes some time away can really help, clear your mind, clear all the clutter, and then you can come back and be in a better state for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely don't neglect your self-care as you go through this.
Mm-hmm.
Um and find an outlet for the frustration so that you're not like going crazy in there and doing something really silly. But yeah, I don't know. You can try to make changes, and I encourage you to. I encourage you to try and make changes, as Ryan was saying. Talk to whoever you can in authority that can actually get something done and see how far you can get. You may get somewhere, you may not. I don't know. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that, if you talk to the president of a company or the owner of a company or the CFO or whoever it is, that a change could occur, that a change will occur, because it might or it might not.
Yeah, you might even talk to them, and it sounds like things like you were heard, and they're gonna do
Mm-hmm.
something, and then
Mm-hmm.
nothing happens.
Yep. I've experienced that before. It was
Mm-hmm.
curious. I was curious when Ryan was telling that story about me talking to the owner of the company. I was like, which company? Because I've done that multiple times.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's fine.
I'm
I was
like,
thinking of Marshall, but at the
okay.
same time, yeah, you've done it multiple times.
Yep. Yep. Well, and at
Sometimes it's
that
fruitful,
point,
sometimes it's not.
yeah, at that point, like with that company, that was when I was an instrument repair technician.
Mm-hmm.
And the president, the owner and president were the same person, right? And they were very accessible,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so I could talk to him, and he made a point of introducing himself to everybody who was new, any new hire, he was a great man, and he made a point to come and introduce himself to everybody when they first would get hired. And he wouldn't do it in an interview. He wouldn't do it in some kind of weird way. He would just come while you're at work, and He was working upstairs, and he'd come down and he'd shake your hand and introduce himself and talk to you a little bit and figure out what kind of stuff you were into and stuff. So he was accessible.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It's not always that way.
No,
And it
of course
sounds
not.
to me like in your situation, Lay, it's not that way. And, there'll be some barriers. And even those people, like a lot
Mhm.
of times the person in charge will have a secretary who is a gatekeeper,
Mhm.
you know? Okay. Uh, since I'm in, okay, Lay says, since I'm a direct employee trying to get heard, I think I'll first reach out to my manager. If he's okay with me trying to get in touch with anyone higher up, maybe he can get me a line of contact I didn't notice. Yep. You can, yes, absolutely. And you'll get a good idea for where your manager sits with all this too. If your manager maybe has
Mm.
tried talking to somebody and has gotten nowhere or whatever. But it gets
Mhm.
really hard, especially with a structure like you're dealing with, Lay. It can be
Yeah,
really
that's
hard
yeah.
because the people in charge don't care about anything but the numbers looking good.
Mhm.
And they don't even have to really be good because they may not even know what numbers look like for a trajectory of how a company's health is. The
Yeah.
bottom line does not always reflect the health of the company. Like the bottom line meaning how much profit and loss the company is having, right? Because sometimes the bottom line looks really bad because you've spent a lot of money on improving your company. You've spent a lot of money on, equipment or people or whatever because you're moving in a direction that is going to improve the health of the company and cause growth. But the bottom line in that quarter looks horrible because you just invested a bunch, right? But when everybody's just looking at those quick quarterly statements, it's really, really tough. Oh, oh no. Lay says, "Oh, I've heard him pull his hair out on multiple occasions about all of this. He's happy about some people being let go from other countries because they've been inefficient, let's call it. But he's also angry because he looks at the projects ahead of us and he's like, we're going to need so many external workers." Yeah. Yeah. That can be frustrating too. It it can get nuts.
Mhm.
But that's where leadership comes into play. And I would encourage you, Lay, while you're doing all this, um, if you can find ways to improve your leadership ability, because you can lead in any position. Leadership is not a position.
Mhm.
Leadership is an action. It's you becoming better with people and you becoming better at having resolve and posture and do all this kind of stuff. Like you can lead in whatever position you're in. And that
Mhm.
just means moving things in a direction of improvement, moving things forward. And when you have a person at the top who's not a good leader, the entire organization suffers for sure. It can be really, really hard. So, yeah, it's a tough spot, man. And I'm sorry. I'm
Mhm.
sorry that you're dealing with this frustration. If the paycheck's really good, I'm almost even more sorry because then you might put up with a lot more before you have to leave. One of the best things I had was I didn't make very much money at some of these jobs that I had because it was easy for me to leave because I could find another job that paid minimum wage, you know?
Yeah.
So I wasn't trapped. I didn't feel trapped by the paycheck. Um, so, but if it's creating a lifestyle for you that you're comfortable in, I'm glad that that's happening. And sometimes the thing is that no matter what it is that you decide to do, you're going to deal with frustration from some direction. There's going to be some kind of problem you're going to need to solve. There's going to be some kind of frustration involved for sure. It's just a matter of what kind of frustration you're dealing with. Oh,
Fantastic Lay.
that's interesting. Lay says, I'm most likely going to be taking a semi management role for the external contract workers during preparations of an event, summer 26. So I'll try to get on top of learning some leadership skills. Absolutely. There's a lot of books. Hit me up on Discord. I'll have to dig through my library but I can find some, especially when you're dealing with people skills. If you're going to be in some kind of management, I I always recommend this book. Ryan knows exactly what book I'm going to talk about.
It's the one that's the book for pretty much everything.
It
when it comes to people.
When it comes to people. And it's the
Mhm.
silliest. It sounds like a stupid book because of the title.
Yep.
The title is How to Have Power and Confidence in Dealing with People. It's like they didn't come up with some kind of catchy title. I mean, it was written back in the 50s or the 60s or something, you know? So it's like...
Yeah. The name of the book is what it's about.
Yep. But it's so good.
But it's so much deeper than
changed so much about how to dance with human nature, basically. And with that, when you're equipped with that, what you're going to find is that every interaction you have with the people that are working under you, that you're working alongside and all that kind of stuff, is going to smooth all of that out because you're going to deal well with their human nature. It's by Les Giblin, How to Have Power and Confidence in Dealing with People. Or maybe it's How to Have Confidence and Power in Dealing with People. Maybe it's that. But yeah, that's such a great book. And it will encourage you as you read it. It'll make you feel good too, because it's written really well, and you know it's just such a good book. But yeah, I don't know. That's probably what I have, and I talked for a long time, and I said a lot of words really fast, and I'm sorry. But
really good. You did great, Joe. I don't have anything to add on except for hi, Baka.
Hi,
That's
Baka.
it. Thank you so much for this topic, Lay.
Yes.
This has been great, and I hope that it is helpful. I hope that you find one way or another, you find your resolve here, and the destination point, and you can lock onto it, whether that be making headway in this or not. I hope that some of this has been encouraging and giving you some avenues. I guess one thing I want to say is remember that you're a human being, not an employee.
Mm-hmm. You're not a human doing.
Don't be yeah, and you're not a human doing. That's true. So don't feel like you're not allowed to contact people, mm-hmm. or ask questions or get in people's business, mm-hmm. because part of being a leader, or not just a leader, but part of being someone who changes people's lives and makes things better, is being involved with their business. Getting into people's business, literally, we don't want to do that, especially we're kind of raised in America to not get into people's business. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that's that way across the entire West as well. I don't know, but I know that in America it's pretty common. It's like, you don't get into other people's stuff. But if you want to make a difference, you kind of have to. And so if you want to make a difference in your company, you kind of gotta get a little dirty. And I don't mean dirty as in play dirty, but I mean get your hands into things that your bosses and your managers and your coworkers would say you don't have a business being there. You don't have, you shouldn't be there, whatever. You have to go through me. You have to go through the ranks. Just remind yourself, I don't have to. I'm a human being who's looking out for the best for this company. And if that's the case, then it doesn't matter what the rank system is. Because things do have to, you have to do what you have to do. Mm-hmm. And so always remember that you're a human before you are an employee. You don't have to play by the rules. I know the rules are there for a reason, and you don't want to get fired. Mm-hmm. But if you get fired for trying to do something good, I understand they're like, well, you're trying to do something good, but you're doing it in a way that mitigates or bypasses our whatever, and so you're not playing on our team anymore because you're just not being a team player, whatever. They can fire you for trying to do the best thing you can do. Mm-hmm. But if that's what they do, then the heart and the soul of the company, and you don't really want to work for that anyways, probably. I don't know. That's for you to deliberate over. For me, I'm just like, I don't have time to spend on things that aren't going to be good. I don't have time to spend on things that don't have a projection. The only projection is downhill, right? Like, I don't waste my time with that, you know? Maybe when I was younger and I didn't understand, sure. But as an adult and someone who has the intention of doing good things for this world, who actually notices that you make a difference with what you do with your life. And it makes a bigger difference than you'll ever know. Everything you do is important. Everything. Everything you do changes the scope of what reality will become. And if you can look at something and go, there's no trajectory here, it's awful. I don't know. I don't got time for that. It's like, I'm not going to invest time into that. I'm going to invest time into how can I make this better? How can I actually fulfill a role here and make it better? And if people aren't on the same page of that because they're like, yeah, but you're, bypassing rules or you're going to step on eggshells, whatever. If that's what people are concerned over, that's the direction our company's going to go, right? What you concern yourself with is where you're going to go. And so if you concern yourself with the worry of hurting people's feelings and so on and so forth, which is fair, you should care about that. But if that's the focus, then that's what the company is going to be about. If that's the focus of any relationship you've ever had, you know how that turns out. That becomes the focus, and that becomes the draining factor of that relationship. It just is what it is. And then you have to have a real hard talk with that person to get it figured out. And so you can actually have a real friendship rather than this faux, fake, whatever that is. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know if you ever had to do that, but I certainly have. And it's not fun. It's a horrible experience. But you can take something and turn it around into a joyful experience, something that's painful, but really good for the soul of both people. So, yeah. He said, as a recently turned 25-year-old, I feel that I don't want to wait around for things to get better exclusively because I don't. Yeah, sorry, I didn't read that right. Exclusively because I don't want to step on a splinter on a whole wood dance floor during a waltz. Yeah, no, it's perfectly said. That's absolutely fair. It's right. So I don't know. That's my opinion. That's how I think. I'm not trying to say that's 100% the way everybody should think. There's time for fun and leisure in life. Those things can be upward trends too. There are good things. Those are good things. Playing a video game, having fun with your friends, etc. Those are good things. But obviously those things can go downwards too. They can have downward trends, especially if it becomes an addiction and things like that. So anything in life can be projected. And if your projection looks at it and you're like, wow, this projection, what is our focus here? Our focus is like trying to eke more out of something. If the projection is money, whatever, right? As Joe was talking about, there's a lot of reason to be worried about that and say, I'm gonna make this. The only thing I can do is invest. If I'm gonna be investing my time in this company, the only thing I can do is at least try to make this projection better. And that's not focused on something like this, focused on something better. Because where you focus is where you're gonna go. Because that's what you're looking at. That's where you're walking. So
True.
yeah. Best of luck to you, Lay. Every wish for your future here, and however it goes, man, you're awesome. So I'm not afraid for you at all, because I know you're gonna make your way through life and do extraordinary things and touch people's hearts and make a big difference. Because you're an awesome guy, Lay. So I'm not afraid for you at all. Even though you're like, I could get laid off, whatever. Like, yeah, that's totally fine. But you're an awesome person, and I know that to be true. And so I'm not worried about you. But if you're worried about your company that you're a part of, even if you're lower on it, then do something about it the best you can. And if you can't do anything because no one will do anything, then that's that. You can't make it. You can't do what you can't do. And sometimes we have to just be willing to accept that and move forward. So, yeah, that's all I got.
Nice. I'm becoming Santa Claus.
Yes. Welcome, Santa Claus. Oh.
Ho ho ho.
Hmm.
And Wix, you're not super duper late.
Yeah,
Just
you're just
super,
duper late.
just super. Oh, just duper late.
That's right. You're not super duper late. You're just duper late.
Just duper late. Yeah.
Just a regular duper. Just a regular duper late.
Yeah. So, Lay,
Uh,
thank you so much for the topic,
yeah, thank you.
and hopefully,
Hmm.
some of that stuff helped. I appreciate you
We have
calling
another
us
topic.
your heroes. We have
Oh,
another topic.
you're amazing, Lay. Oh, I'm just saying, no, we have time for another topic. We've got 30
Oh yeah,
minutes, so we have to
yeah.
pick, yeah, choose
Yep.
wisely.
Choose wisely. So it's
Hmm.
funny because I don't know who submitted these.
Yeah, neither do I.
Yeah, but I think what we'll do is we'll just kind of go in order of received. So we received the first one first.
Huh. What is it, in chronological order or something?
I know, it's so weird. So all
Yeah,
right, so we're gonna just do this next topic. So again, Lay, thank you again, and I appreciate you so much. And it's great to see you again, man.
it
It's
is.
been a
Yeah.
while, and I'm glad to hear how your life's turning
Mm-hmm.
out. And you're getting
Yeah,
old,
me
man.
too.
25, dude.
Dude.
Used to be I was always 29, and so you're almost as old as I used to be.
Mhm. Wow. You're almost as old as I used to be.
You're almost as old
Wow,
as
what a
you're almost
sentence.
as old as I was once.
Uh-huh.
Now I'm 270. Dude, man, I don't even think my brain is
No
fully
one's
developed
brain,
yet.
no one's brain is fully developed yet. Even at 200, we're all waiting. We're all waiting for that to happen.
Well, because even if physically it's, like fully developed, then
Yeah,
there's always more stuff to learn, and you can always improve
yeah,
your emotional intelligence. And yeah, yeah,
yeah.
no one's brain is ever fully developed. It's true, because there's always more to learn. There's always more to grow through.
That's
You're
right.
always, and here's the thing: you're always gonna get hit with stuff and be forced into another growth period, or well, should
Yep.
say a choice period where
Yes.
you can
You can
choose
choose
to
to grow or not.
grow, or you can choose to, you know, not.
Hmm. Oh my gosh, Baka!
Baka, you turn
Happy
22 tomorrow.
birthday!
Happy birthday. You're getting
Happy
old too, man.
birthday!
You are getting old.
Man, you're
22.
almost as old as I
You're
used to be
you're
now.
almost as old as
Wow.
I used to be.
It's such a line. Aren't I already as old as you used to be? Not yet. Not
Not
at that
yet.
point.
You're
We're
pretty
not talking
close
that long
though.
ago. Pretty close.
Oh man. All right. We're going to do this next topic. What is this, Nyansai? You were
Yeah.
born tomorrow, 22 years in the past. You made it into the world.
Oh.
Congrats. And it lived until 22. Impressive.
Impressive. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Man, I remember
Dang,
my
Baka.
22nd birthday. It was the most uneventful birthday of my life, I think.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Interesting.
I think. Well, yeah. Well, and
Well, you
because,
feel that way
you
because the
feel that
prior was
way that,
21.
right, because you turn 18 and then you become like a legal adult, and then you turn 21 and then
Hmm.
you're like of age to do all kinds of other stuff. And then, yeah, and then 22 is just kind of like, okay, I'm 22. Sweet.
Yeah.
Now, every time I have a
Yeah.
birthday, I don't even celebrate it anymore. Like, I'm just like, whatever, it's another day. Guess what I'm doing on my birthday? Working.
Hmm. I try to do that, and I've gotten away with it many years, but someone always is like doing something on my birthday to
Well,
celebrate my birthday. But here's the
you
thing.
have your
My
mom
birthday
for a
is a
mom.
holy holiday.
That too.
My birthday is a holiday, so I always but I didn't know that until like later, until I was like an adult. But yes, I have a mom that will always celebrate
Yeah.
my birthday.
She'll
no matter
celebrate
how old I
everything.
get.
She would you
She
know,
will.
she'll throw a party. Man, your mom is such a great
Mhm.
hostess and such a great party
She's so
thrower,
good.
you know, man.
She is.
Yep.
She's the best. The best.
Yep. She's
She
so
is
good at
the
that. And
best.
so yeah,
Mhm.
probably like your half birthday, she'd throw a party, like the the 6 months.
Nyansai, I love the system you've got going on. I'm a min-maxer too. I always start out with like, yeah, I'm going to put everything into Agi and my character will not be able to beat anything up. But when I get to level like 80, man, my character's going to destroy everything. It's going to be awesome. It's like a painful experience, but at the end, you're happy you did what you did.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yep. Hey, Akiri.
That's...
Akiri Dreams, welcome. It's good to see you again.
Yeah.
You're
Hey,
sick. I'm
Kiri.
sorry to hear that you're sick.
Oh, I'm
and your
sorry.
sleep schedule's broken.
Yeah.
My sleep schedule's broken too. I feel your pain. It's tough.
Sleep schedules always get broken when you're sick.
Yeah.
I hope you get better quickly.
Yeah. But
Mhm.
welcome.
Hi, Saule. Welcome.
Welcome. Yeah. Good to see you.
Yes, that's right. That's right, Yansai. I feel you.
Min-max. It's kind of like min-wax, but min-max instead. All right. Let's do this next topic, shall we?
Yes.
This will be an interesting one. This will be a very interesting one.
Yeah.
This could take us over the time.
Yes. That's what I was like, man, I don't know if we'll have time for this one, but also you guys might just want to leave or you might want to stay, it's a topic. So here we are.
You're always welcome to stay or to not. That's the beauty of YouTube.
Yeah, that's right.
Be here with us. We love to have you. We love that you're here.
Speed on the topic.
If the topic gets crazy and offensive, I'm sorry, but it might. So all right, this is called Christian judgment conflict. It already sounds interesting to me. I don't know. I'm gonna have some words, and I bet you will too.
You're gonna have some judgments. Yeah.
Dude, it's funny. I'm a Catholic. And the people I judge the most are Catholics.
That makes sense.
Why can't I open this topic?
You can't open it? Just spam the double click button.
Hold on. You got to say you did not write this topic. Okay. Is that code for saying you did write this topic?
No, I know that she didn't write this topic.
Yay, I got it open. All right, cool.
Well, at least I'm pretty sure she didn't. I would be surprised if she wrote this. I would be really surprised if she wrote this topic.
All right. Me too, then. You know her better than I do. So, all right. I'm going to put this up on the screen. Oh, yes. Thank you, Saule.
Have a good night, Saule.
This would be a good one. I haven't even read this topic yet, but just by the title, that'd be good to do the the disclaimer. We're not professionals. The information we give is not a substitute for professional advice. We're just trying to give back and support you. Excuse me. As you're supporting us. Oh, had some air in my esophagus.
Esophageal.
Yes. And again, if you want to send us a topic, you can put it in the chat, or at this point, probably is best to go to don'tworrywednesday.com and click the submit a topic button and submit it there. Yes, we will do this next topic. It's going to be good. All right. So this is called, what's this called? Christian judgment conflict. All right. And I'm going to put it up on the screen for you. Here we go. It reads as follows. I have questions. So, I'm a Christian, but at the same time, I love movies and TV shows that would have the church ladies scandalized. But I see the world in a different light. But, I'll literally watch the show with God, and he'll be pointing things out to me and speaking to me, but I still feel judged by the church. I love watching anime. Full Metal Alchemist is one of my favorites. I really like Full Metal Alchemist too, by the way. That's just a little side note from me. But it's literally surrounding alchemy. Or like the show Has Been Hotel. I love that show. Or something like Supernatural or even Gravity Falls. But I feel outcast, and that's why I'm not on here as much because I'm still terrified of being judged by the church. It's hard to explain to the church that atheists are more accepting of me than the church. It's hard to explain that the church has called me a whore, exact language that has been used, more times than not, but the atheists support me and say, you made a mistake. You don't have to hate yourself for it. So, how am I supposed to get around that fear of being outcast by the church again, the fear of never fitting into the church's ideals of the body of Christ, the ideals of the perfect biblical woman? And that
Great
is
topic.
from Anonymous. I got some words to say about this topic, I promise you. And I know who it came from now. Actually, now that I read the topic, I'm not going to expose you. But I understand, and you know what? The thing about quote unquote the church is made up of a whole bunch of people, and a whole bunch of people that can be really, really judgmental and really, really stupid about it. And they somehow conveniently forget that they're sinners too. And it's like, look, like I will gladly point out the scripture where it says, pull the log out of your own eye before you pull the speck out of your brother's eye. And one of your biggest problems right now is lack of grace, my good sir. But yeah, we get all these people in there that are holier than thou and thinking they're all so much better than everybody else. And it just makes me upset. So I feel your pain. And I don't think there's really anything wrong with you watching these particular shows. Their entertainment value. You know, this is so funny because I like philosophy. I like lots of different kinds of philosophy. And depending on the church you go to, I would be like outcasted because I study Buddhism, Stoicism. I've read the Book of Mormon. I've read half of the Quran. And I study these things. I like philosophies and religions and all this stuff. I want to understand. But there's so many people that are, and it doesn't matter. Like people in any church following, like whether it's Catholics, Baptists, Pentecostals, whoever, that would just like turn over and like look at me like I'm this total heathen because I'm finding beauty in stoicism. And Neonsai, I know stoicism sucks, you say. We still have to have that argument, and we're going to have that argument. But
That's so great.
So anyway, I think Anonymous, you're fine. I don't think you need to feel shame for watching these things. Because entertainment is entertainment. It's not like you're doing anything wrong by watching some things. Now, there are some things that are not good to put in your head and that are harmful to you, i.e. pornography. Harmful. And yeah, that would be not good to get into, but there's nothing here that's like that. Even still, even if watching something was a sin, then everybody sins, and grace is what matters. That's why, I mean, that's the thing. All these people that judge me for being a sinner, it's like, well, you're a sinner too, right? Like, so why are you judging me? And at least in Catholicism, we have confession, and I go to confession more than most.
You're pretty good at that.
Yeah. And you know
I think,
why? It's
yeah,
because I'm really good at sinning.
I think we all are.
So it's like, come on. But anyway, all right. I'm going to turn this over to Ryan before I get on my soapbox. And Ryan, you can say something nice and gracious and wonderful. So there you go.
Yeah, I'll give it my best. Honestly, it's a really good topic. I want to say that I've met multiple people with a similar story. You don't have to, well, I mean, it's hard because what you're going through is stupid. I really like that you still clarify that you're a Christian despite what your experiences with a Christian community were. That you still believe in God regardless of what those who are supposed to be, examples of him in some way or another, are failing to be good examples and doing you the opposite service that God intends. So I'm proud of you, and I think that's really great. I know a couple of people who've had this experience, and so it's interesting. I've never been able to necessarily, that I recall, maybe I have, but not that I recall, um, gotten any of them to decide like, hey, yeah, I want to go back to church again, and et cetera. But that's between them and their own feelings and decisions and so on. And that's fine. And so I'm not going to try to say, hey, I want you back in church, whatever. I think that would be something that you would have to decide for yourself. But the thing is, I think you already know um, that. I mean, there's a really great line. I can't remember the saint that it's by, but essentially the idea is the church is like a hospital for the sick people. You don't go to a hospital because you're perfectly healthy. You go because you're sick.
Mhm.
And the church is full of sick people, but sick in a sin way. Now, that's not entirely true. Um, it's not a perfect statement because the truth is, even if you are perfect, church is great to go to. It's not like something that you only go to because you're a sinner. But the idea is behind the line that the church is full of people trying to become better and more holy. That's the reason of going there. And no matter how holy you are, or how perfect you are, how sinless, regardless how holy you are, when you go to church, right? The intention is to become more holy. Because holiness is infinite, because God is infinite. And holiness is an essence of God. So, you trying to go down that route, you can go down that route infinitely. You become infinitely more holy because holiness is infinite. So it's really cool. And that matches all the other virtues. So um, it's pretty great. I'm not trying to get you to go back to church. I can see your experience there has been awful. Um, but like the rest of chat is already saying, that's not what it should be. It's not the ideal. It's not even not only is it not ideal, it is backwards, right? Um, the Bible says don't judge. But what does it mean by that? Because that really does need clarification. You said like your atheist friends, they kind of just accept you regardless of, what's going on in your life. They seem more inviting and accepting and loving than the people that you experienced at church who are supposed to be the ones that were, you know, um, an image of God, loving you, accepting you, etc. And um, and so that's totally understandable. That was your experience. I think that's the experience of a lot of people, and that's a fault of those people, and fault of that, the church and the organization and people's experiences in it. But um, it's important to not accept everything. And I don't mean this necessarily to hurt you or anybody, but there are things about you that you don't like. And there are things about me that I don't like. And there are things about me that other people don't like. And those things are generally evil things. When I do something evil or I have a thought that's evil, whatever, I don't want to accept that, because me accepting that would be allowing me to be evil, and that's not helpful. That's not good for the people around me. That's not good for me, right? So in some essence, it's right for people to judge. It's right for people to point out what's unacceptable, because there are things about yourself that even you would agree. You don't want them to remain. You want to grow beyond them. You want to be a better person. That's good. We don't want to get into a society where we just accept everybody for whatever they do, however they are, right? Naturally, I mean, you could agree that someone who does something like a horrible and like a school shooting, and just say, "Oh no, that's totally fine. I accept their actions, and that's totally okay. Don't worry about it." That's not an appropriate response, because we don't want that sort of stuff in our world. We don't want evil like that to exist in our world. And there are many evils like that in our world. And some of that evil is inside of us, right? And so it's okay not to accept things. It's okay to have that judgment call and go, you know what? I don't want to be that way, right? Okay. That being said, let's move it to the next step. Now, what about when you see other people? Well, God doesn't hate people. He hates their sin. He hates the evil that they do, or the evil that they intend to do, right? That makes sense. But God doesn't hate people. He loves people. And God wants those people to grow so they don't have that evil inside them anymore, right? And so we as Christians should adopt that same motive. We should look at each other and say, I'm not going to just be okay with you doing evil things. That makes sense. We don't want people like shooting people up and so on and so forth. We don't want to make that just acceptable, right? And so we say, yeah, I don't accept those things, but I love you, right? I love the person you are. You aren't the things or experiences. You aren't your experiences. You aren't your actions. Those things, some of them come out of you, and some of them happen to you, and you have no control. Or you were misguided. Or you weren't you didn't know better at the time. Things like that. That's very common. And you can't be accused of those things. They're outside of your control. And so when the Bible says, "Thou shalt not judge," right? What is it meaning? And this is a really good, important question, because you can dismiss the people who are judging you, and just say, if they're going to do that, that's their sin. That's fine. They have to do with that, and that's them putting that evil out into the world and onto me and making my life worse. But I can recognize that that's a problem they have, not a problem I have. And so with that, I can dismiss the evil that I have experienced and make it not replicate in my mind and make my mind evil. I can just take that and say, that evil was done to me, and dismiss it, and move forward in the direction I know is holiest, is best for me, is most like God, is most loving, right? And I think that's probably the appropriate measure. When someone does something evil to you, it shouldn't drive you to forsaking the holy, even if they were meant to represent the holy. That's going to happen because we're all humans. And that's why in like every anime ever that has some kind of holy figure, he's always the villain of some kind. Because being betrayed by that which is meant to be holy is the worst offense. And that is such a poignant thing, such a potent, or what's the word? yeah, I guess it's just such a miserable and awful thing. And so it hits us in a way that's special. So that's why, like, in every anime ever, the Catholic Church is the villain. Because you have an authority that's meant to be holy, and the world knows it. Or it doesn't have to be Catholic, just any church, but yeah. And it doing something evil, it having like a conspiracy that the whole reason it exists is for evil. It's the epitome of betrayal, right? It is betrayal at its like greatest. I don't know. Yeah, at its greatest. But it's funny if you watch those. Usually, the people fighting against that are actually people who are standing for holy things. It's not that holiness is bad. It's not that their desire for goodness is bad. It's not that the corporation, that the church itself was bad. It's that the people inside of it used it for evil, right?
Yes.
It's kind of funny because you watch those animes and you see, oh, the church is the enemies, these Christians, whatever, they're the bad people because they have this cult and they're doing these things and they're manipulating people saying this is good and blah, blah, blah. And yet the hero, what does the hero do? It does all of the good things that are actually holy anyways. And it's like trying to take out this, and it's like, so you're still supporting the same values. You're just calling this certain entity evil. And fair enough. Yeah. In that anime, it was. But reality isn't like that. Reality is a mixed bag. You have really good apples in the church, and you have really bad apples in the church. You've got really good atheists, and you've got really bad atheists. Trust me. You've got really good everything and really bad everything in the bag, in every bag. And so it's more important to check yourself than check others. It's more important for you to pursue holiness, whatever route that is, regardless of what other people are doing in that field, right? And so back to the thing where I said, thou shalt not judge. This is a really important question. What does that even mean? What does it mean to not judge? What kind of judgment? Because as I said before, it's good to judge what's sin and what's holy. It's good to make that judgment call and to follow that. It's good to understand, what inside of me deserves to be judged out, right? And so I remember one time I was like trying to understand this. I was reflecting and I was like, I'm trying to understand this. This is a really hard thing to understand. So why don't I just ask God, say what he says? And, it's kind of a funny thought because it's like, yeah, I'm going to pray and I'm going to ask someone and it's just going to be silent. I'm going to be like, okay, yeah, well, whatever. I didn't get a response. So, you're just like, okay, that didn't work, but I was like, you know what? Why not? I'll just throw it in the air, like, why not? And so I remember I was driving in Colorado Mountains area, and I remember this specifically visually because it was such a intense experience. I was just like, God, I've been thinking about this for like an hour, trying to figure out what you mean by don't judge people, or don't judge. Thou shalt not judge. Like, what do you mean? Like, where is the sin? Where specifically is that sin? And what does it mean in its fullest? And I'm just like, I've been delivering on this for like an hour. I can't figure it out. I don't know. It's not in my head. And so I asked, and I was like, all right, God, I'm just going to throw it your way, see if you've got to say anything about it, And I was like, God, why, what does it mean to judge people? And why is it a sin? Why did you say don't do it? And immediately, like an entire multitude of paragraphs all summed up into like one sentence within a fraction of a second enter my brain. And it pulls me into tears, basically. Because essentially what God responded with is, if you could feel how it feels when I have to judge and condemn someone into hell, it is so depressing that your entire you would completely cease to exist. Every atom in your being would lose all of its energy and essentially just out of pure, incredible, deep sadness, you would have such sadness that everything would just simply stop and no longer, just not even be a thing anymore. You would just cease to exist, is how deep that sadness is. That was the response I got, like in a millisecond, the best way I can describe it. If you could experience the sadness I feel when I have to judge someone, it's so painful. You would cease to exist. Everything in you would just be put into such a depressed state. You wouldn't anymore. You just wouldn't. You wouldn't be nothing, you know? And God said to me that that was his experience. Now, take that as you will. You don't have to believe that I actually interacted with God or anything, or maybe those subliminal, whatever, messaging from the past that kind of just got brought back. But that was the experience that I had. Okay. What that told me was God loves us a heck of a lot, and he's very invested. He's so invested that when it comes time to judge us, it is so sad. It is a sadness that humans can't even fathom. It is such an emotion that we have no place. We have absolutely no place to even attempt to judge someone because it's not within our jurisdiction. It is not within our emotional capacity. It is not within our intellectual understanding of how important and deep and profound this matter is. And we didn't create each other. We aren't the ones to judge each other in this matter, in this way. So what does thou shalt not judge mean? It kind of means thou shalt not condemn. Don't condemn each other. Don't hate each other. Don't wish for bad on each other. And don't be the one that thinks you know entirely what's wrong and right, where that person's at, what their life story is, and make that a focal point of how you interact with them or even think in your head. Thou shalt not judge is something like, don't spend any time at all worrying about the sins of others so that you can make them out to be a bad person or concentrate on it like you have anything to do with it because you have no say in the matter in the end because you aren't intelligent enough to handle that. You aren't a big enough response. Like you just can't. So does that mean we shouldn't recognize sin where sin is? Of course we should. We should just not spend any time at all gossiping. We should not spend any time at all accusing each other. Right? What is Satan? Satan is literally translated as the accuser. That's what Satan means, the accuser. That's a translation. And the accuser, now Lucifer, right? Lucifer is the light. It comes from that definition. Satan is the accuser. So if we spend time accusing each other, if that's what's on our mind, if that's even comes to our mind at all, accusations, pointing out each other's faults, as if that's something we have control over, right? Like that's where we get it wrong. And so if people in the church are being the accusers, they're being representatives of Satan at those times. Now, they're not all evil. They have holiness in them too. There are times where those people do good things. They might be very charitable. They might be, with some people, very accepting, very loving. And then with others, not so much. And we're all a bit like that. And so what I'd say is don't judge the pastor by its flock. I guess don't, pastor meaning, the guy who, a shepherd. There you go. Don't judge a shepherd by his flock, because his flock is autonomous and sometimes can be very stupid, regardless of however good the shepherd is, And so keep that in mind and recognize that it doesn't mean that you should be, quote, spiritual and not religious. It doesn't mean you should avoid church because that's where dumb people are, and they're going to accuse you. I mean, it doesn't mean that at all. It just means don't pay mind to those who seek your destruction. Because if you pay mind to them, you're letting them in. You just have to recognize, okay, that's their sin that they're dealing with. Fair enough. That's okay. I can maybe respond to that and say something like, hey, yeah, I'm a sinner. We're all sinners. I mean, what did Jesus do, when he met the whore? He drew in the sand. You guys, you remember that one, right? Where he drew in the sand and he said, is anyone here, if you're not a sinner, you cast the first stone, right? And everybody had to leave because everybody's done something. Everybody's guilty. And so it's like, hey, maybe that's what you'll say to them. Or maybe you'll just be silent and accept them for who they are. And just love them wherever they're at. I think that's really what you need to do. You need to fight that evilness that's there with holiness. Don't fight it with other evil. Like, don't fight it with running away or saying, I can't take that or whatever. Sometimes you fight it with just being holy and just saying, yeah, that's where you're at. I understand that. I hope you can get over that, And you don't have to say that to them, but you think that, and you love them for where they're at, and you pray for them, and you move forward with your own journey. As for watching shows and stuff, yeah, like Joe said, there's things you probably don't want to watch that are bad for you. There are things that are entertaining in music, etc., that are just bad messages going into your brain and programming you to be sinful. Sure, that exists all over the place. But we can't help that to some degree. We live in a world that's in a fallen state, right? And you're going to experience the world and what it has. When the Jewish people when Israel left Egypt, right? They were told that they couldn't partake in any of the stuff that Egypt was and doing in the past. When they set up their location, they were given all these rules about you can't eat meat, you can't do this, that, and the other thing. You can eat meat, you can't eat specific types of meat. You can't, there was this huge list of rules, right? It's huge. And it was all to say, you aren't part of the world. Your home is elsewhere. You're pilgrims on this journey, and you shouldn't partake in what the world is doing. You shouldn't partake in their goods, even if they're goods. Just isolate yourself so you don't get corrupted. And then when Christianity came, they said, okay, relaxing that off. We're getting rid of those rules to keep you separated from the rest of the world, because now your job is, now that you've spent time perfecting yourself, hopefully, you can go out into the world, but make a difference. Don't just become a part of it. Shape it. And so now we do eat pig and pork, things like that. We do wear clothing of different textiles mixed together, right? We are now a part of the world and affiliated with it and partaking in the goods that they had to share all along. But all those goods come with evils as well, because the world's going to put out the world's message. And the world can put out messages of, sex, drugs, and violence and all that. And so you just have to take each thing as it is, dissect it, and do with it the best you can. It's not wrong to have clothing made of different fabrics, right? It's just something that we did in the past to separate ourselves out from the world. Now we are involved with the world more, but it's still important to figure out where you need to separate yourself out so that you don't get indoctrinated with crap and you don't accidentally create habits that are evil without recognizing that they're evil, and then later coming into realization like 10 years down the road, it's like, oh my gosh, this is just a habit that I do and it's bad. It's really bad. Where did I even learn this? And it's like, oh yeah, I used to do that and the other thing, and I used to like listen to these songs and they kind of programmed the way I think and so on and so forth. Like, that's normal. It's real. But so it is important to decide what you watch. But that doesn't mean you're not allowed to watch everything, and that what you're doing is inherently evil, right? Right at the beginning, Yansai said, I can't remember the exact words, but it's like, it's not like you're watching this because they're blasphemous. It's not like you're entertained because they're blasphemous. They just have blasphemous material within them, and you got to dissect that however you will, And so I spoke a long time on this. I knew we wouldn't have enough time. I already went over 10 minutes, and and Joe hasn't even gotten a turn yet. So all I'm trying to say here is God is love.
I need to yell.
Yeah. God is love. And so if the people at your church are not loving, then that's their battle to deal with, not yours. And it's not your battle to run from. It's theirs. And so don't be dissuaded by evils to stop you from pursuing holiness. Instead, be the kind of person that's not judging them for their faults, condemning them. Be the kind of person that does not condemn others for their faults. Be the kind of person that doesn't condemn the church just because there are bad apples and there are evils within it. Be wise, the best you can, and move forward with the knowledge that you have. And pursue the holy regardless of the evils that will come your way, no matter what holy pursuit you are on. Because the best saints of the best saints have all been attacked by the devil in every area. Jesus was literally betrayed at the same table where he created the covenant with his 12 apostles. So don't expect any different. When you enter a church, know that there's going to be evil there because evil wants to attack that and separate us. So of course that's going to be there. Evil is that which separates. It divides us. It's going to be there. Division isn't entirely bad. We do want to separate out the evil from the good. And so when you see it in the church, it's super plain as day and it impacts you hard. That doesn't mean that church is evil. It just means evil has made its way in. And it's your job to do with it what you should and pursue holiness regardless of it. I hope that's encouraging. Hope that really makes a lot of sense to you. And if not, well, that's all I had. So I'm going to give it over to Joe. And I'm really interested where he'll take this.
I'm scared.
Oh man,
there's so much.
There's a lot of really great things in chat.
You guys are doing, man. I love you guys in the chat. There's such great conversations going on and people putting in, and keep chatting, guys, because there's a lot of good stuff coming out here. And yeah, like there are some, there's some disagreements happening a little bit, and but that's okay too. No, here's the thing: nobody is. If somebody has an opinion that's different from yours, it doesn't mean that they're like, they think yours is
your enemy.
Exactly. Like, so keep talking because that's how we arrive at truth, because so many things are nuanced, right? So many things, there's conditions to everything, nuanced. And it's wild because like, making a mistake is different from deliberately doing something bad, right?
Yeah.
And And sometimes people will deliberately do something bad because they're misguided and they think they're doing the right thing. Right? Most of the
Yes,
time,
all the
most
time.
of the time when somebody's doing something that's wrong and it's affecting the world in a way, they think they're doing the right thing. So in their conscience, they're doing the right thing. Yeah, I know. Nyanse, I hear you. And a lot of things that there are things to take into account. There are mental disorders to take into account. There are wounds that are unhealed that need to be taken into account, that cause habits, that cause us in life projections, that that bring us to conclusions that make us act a certain way that are wrong and that can hurt people. And sometimes people deliberately do things to hurt another people because they're jealous or because they don't like that person or because whatever. But in that moment, they think they're doing the right thing because, I mean, geez, man, I've experienced people that mistreated or abused me for years and they thought it was the right thing to do. Right? And it's not, like, I don't know. It's crazy. Wix. There's no nuance. I am right 100%, and that's all there is to it. Wix, you're
that.
so
That's pretty great,
confident. I
Wix.
love the confidence.
Yeah.
It's great. Here's the thing though, right? Because like sometimes you have to take into account, in some of these conversations that I'm seeing, like you guys are so awesome. And it's like sometimes we don't know. We don't know the long-term effects of some of our actions. Sometimes. And Wix, you said something really important that I want to highlight here, and I'm going to nuance this thing. Where you said if you're not hurting yourself or others, do what you want to do. Sometimes we don't know we're hurting ourselves. Sometimes we don't know because it's not immediate. Yeah. But some of our actions do have long-term effects that are very, very, very painful long-term. And we just don't know because we haven't experienced it. And then when we get to that point where we're in that pain, then we can look back and be like, oh my gosh, I made this choice because I made this choice. And it all started with this one choice. Right? Or it all started with this one other person doing this thing to me that hurt me. And so I responded in a certain way. And so then, right, but they didn't know that. So sometimes we don't even know. But ignorance isn't necessarily a sin. When we don't know, how can we be held responsible sometimes, right? The moon isn't cheese. I mean, here's the thing, right? Here is the golden rule. You've all heard it. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Why don't people live that way? I know this one particular individual who the right course of action, if somebody wrongs them, is to get them back in a more extreme way than they feel like they were slighted or hurt.
So that's how people thought always until an eye for an eye came about. The default was if someone hurt you, kill them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was old society. That's how it was. And then God was like, yo, no, at least like an eye for an eye. And then they finally learned that. And then God was like, okay, now not even that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the story of humanity.
Yeah. But Anonymous, like, to talk about your topic, I mean, we can get into so many theological, we can go down so many theological
Yeah.
rabbit holes with all of this stuff, and I want to kind of keep it back to the topic too, where it's like, okay, there are people in the church that do all kinds of crazy stuff, man. And so what happens is, like Ryan was talking about, the church or Christianity becomes the enemy because people in that church did certain things that were wrong.
Mm.
And it's, you know, I'm going to take an example out of history. There are a lot of people that really, really hate Catholicism because of the Crusades.
Which is
or the
fabricated.
Inquisitions. What's that?
Which is not fabricated.
Which is not what?
Okay, I said the first one, the Crusades, I was like, which the story is mostly fabricated. And then the second one, I said, which is not fabricated.
Right.
Inquisition was actually not so great. The Crusades were totally fine. But the Inquisition, yeah, that was a bit rough.
Right, but here's the thing. The church wasn't the problem in that. People blame the Catholic Church in that. But what was happening was the intermingling of church and politics is what caused that. And so that's why I'm a really strong advocate of not combining the two.
Yeah.
I know so many people who are like, we need to have a Christian nation. And I'm like, no. No. No, we don't. Because that's just going to open the door to all that nonsense.
And plus, I mean, God himself values the freedom of will.
Yes.
And to have a forced relationship with him is not love.
Right.
That's literally like the definition of rape. So
right.
It's not allowed.
Anonymous, I remember this dude. I was on a mission trip. I went to West Virginia, and we were helping West Virginia has some of the poorest areas in the United States. And we were remodeling a house. We were getting property together. We were doing all kinds of stuff to help this mission, so we could help people that were, in trouble and that were really, really going through hard times. And, so we were there and we were working, and I was just a teenager, right? I was like, I think I was in 9th grade. So what's that? Like I was 14 years old or something. And, my brother and I, we grew up listening to, like classic rock and stuff like that, oldies, classic rock, stuff from the 60s and 70s. And we were listening to some Led Zeppelin. And because it was like, yeah, Led Zeppelin, and we were listening to this, and this adult, so we were teenagers, we were kids. And this adult member of the crew that we were on came in a blind rage and was throwing stuff around, yelling and talking about how this music, he can't, like, we need to turn that off. It's evil. It's blah, blah, blah. And he was like throwing stuff, and like he freaked us out. And he was like in our faces. Like I still remember his breath. Smelled like the dragon butt sandwich he ate earlier.
Dragon butt sandwich? Dang.
He ate a dragon butt sandwich.
I want to know where I get dragon butt. That's pretty cool. I mean, if I take anything from this story, it's that I've got to find a sandwich.
Yep. Made my butt tingle.
From real dragon butt. Okay, sorry. Here, sorry. Carry on.
It's okay. Like to this day, I still remember this experience, right? And later he came back and apologized. and he was talking to, because I was the one that put the music on. I was the one that was listening to it and talking about it and all this kind of stuff. And so I was like the focus of this guy's rage. And so he came back and he tried to mend things, but the thing is, man, that there was no way that relationship was ever going to mend ever after that. I mean, my personality style, when you do something like that to me, you are out. Right? I'll forgive you, but you will always be at a distance from me. You know? Like, I will never trust you after something like that.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't have time for that. I don't have time to be treated like that. I don't have, it's hard for me to come up with self-respect sometimes, but I had at least that much to know, like, okay, we're done. I'll be nice to you. I'll be kind. I'll be accepting, whatever, but we're not going to be friends. And it was like, but that, I mean, in the same way, what he was doing was expressing this aggression and being very violent verbally. And if he hadn't had something to throw, he may have gotten physically violent. Right? Because it was all in him. Like, it was all this rage. Just because we were listening to some Led Zeppelin. And he was offended by the music we were listening to. And so that caused him to act this way. And so now that I'm older and, I know a little bit more and a little bit wiser, I understand what it looks like when somebody's triggered. And I understand that sometimes, people got to resolve that and, like, okay, whatever. But the essence of that was his judgment of us. And Anonymous, I don't know what you're doing that would make people call you a whore. But in a way, all of us are whores. And I don't know if you're supposed to say whore on YouTube. Didn't you ask that, Ryan? Here I am saying it over and over again.
Yeah, that's before we started, I was like, can we say whore, or is whore not allowed to be said? I wasn't sure if whore was a word that doesn't, like, whore is not a, like, swear word, but whore is just not a word that we tend to say in public. So I don't know if whore is okay
I'll
now.
say it, whore.
So here we are saying whore. We said it before.
Whore. Like, see, because I don't know, man. It's so tough. And I've got my brain is going in so many different directions, and I can think of so many different stories of people and their judgment and like all this stuff, and it comes back to politics.
Yeah, I could talk for hours.
And man, people like get involved, and they're like, well, if you don't vote a certain way, you're not Christian, or if you don't vote a certain way, you're not Catholic, or you blah blah blah. And I'm just like get that out of your head. Stop it. Because we're called to forgive each other. We're called to love each other. The commandments, if we're going Christian, if we're going by Christian means the like following the teachings of Christ, everything he taught boiled down to two things. Two. Love God, love your neighbor.
Yep.
That's it. Every action that we take, we can look back and ask, is this loving to God or loving to my neighbor? If we decimate part of the earth, to, like do something for our company that creates all kinds of problems for the earth that God created, is that loving God?
Naturally not.
Good question. But then on the other side, we have naturalists who will sit out there and spew and spit venom and do all kind of stuff. Is that loving to your neighbor? Right?
No.
So on any side of the coin, we can find flaws in this area.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing. We're humans. We're flawed. We're weak. Akiri, you said something up earlier in the chat, and you mentioned human weakness. Yeah. Evil is situational. People sometimes have moments of weakness, and that's circumstantial. Acts like these depend on context. For example, being mentally ill, having a rude past, etc. You're absolutely right. Because sometimes we don't have the capacity to make a free choice. Because really, now, if we're going totally theological and talking about what sin is, sin requires free choice. And if we're in a state where we're weak and we have some kind of condition or dealing with some kind of abuse or we have some kind of problem, we're not making a free choice. We're acting as a response to things that we've been conditioned with. And so really, technically, it's not even really sin because we're not making a free choice. Definitionally, right? And so, like, I know people are going to argue with that.
What's wrong is wrong regardless of whether you know it or not. It's fine, but sin requires that in order to be a sinner, you have to have full acknowledgement of your faculties.
Exactly. There are things that we're going to do that hurt other people. Right? I'm sure every single one of you in the chat has been hurt by somebody. I've been hurt. I've been hurt deeply. I'm sure you guys have too. I've been hurt deeply physically, mentally, emotionally, by people who were supposed to care about me, by people who told me they loved me, by people who told me they wanted to be with me for the rest of their life, but like all kinds. And sometimes the people that love us the most hurt us the deepest. And sometimes those deep wounds cause us to act in certain ways later, partially in a defense mechanism. Sometimes we build up these defense mechanisms so strong and over such a long time that we just respond out of habit and we don't even really know why. But it started off as a defense mechanism and then it became a habit, and then that's just how we are. Until we notice and we're like, okay, this is weird, but like I need to get to the bottom of this. And then we do some work and get to the bottom of it, and we figure out, okay, this is a script that I've been working off of for so long and it doesn't serve me anymore. And so I need to work on this. There's been a lot of that in my life over the last 6 months. Working through a lot of this stuff. And so I understand, and now I'm starting to gain a lot more understanding on the depth of like where I was, even from the time of my earliest memories, when I was like, the earliest memory I can remember, I was probably 2 or 3, and I only have like one of those memories, right? And then, but most of I can think back and I can remember a lot of things from when I was like 4. And then onward, right? If I really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes we don't even remember what the thing was but it hurt us so deeply that we put up a defense mechanism, and now we've acted out of habit because of that defense for our entire lives, and we don't even know why. And I believe that everybody has stuff like that, not just me. I believe all of us do. And with that understanding, we can look at somebody's actions when they do something that hurts us, and we can say, okay, like I saw in the chat, we're acting out of, pain. That person is acting out of pain. And so what's the answer then? Probably grace. Yeah, I know it hurts. I know it hurts when people judge us. But when we can understand that, okay, they're human too, they're not making a free choice to do this because they're acting out of pain from maybe a time when they don't remember either. And then from there, we can gain a level of understanding. Okay, so they're not necessarily doing this freely. They're not doing this necessarily to hurt me. They're doing this to defend themselves from something they don't even realize. And maybe they have some kind of mental illness. Maybe they have some kind of trauma. Maybe they have something that created some kind of hitch that is a real big problem. But when we can come at it with a level of understanding, it's like, okay, look, we don't have to accept their judgment. We don't have to, like, if somebody comes and judges me for watching some kind of a show and calling me a whore or whatever, right? I don't have to accept that judgment. It stings a little bit, yeah. And depending on the person that it is, and in the relationship I have, it might sting a little bit more if I'm closer with that person, right? But the thing is, just because that's happening, that individual in that church is doing that, or maybe maybe there's a culture in that church, that particular one, that's like kind of crazy, right? Like there's this one Catholic church in my area that's so politically driven. And they're so Republican. And they equate religion with being a Republican in some ways, in a lot of ways.
That's not good.
And if somebody's not a Republican, then they're not a Christian. And whatever. And it's like, dude. I want to smack people. But then I'm acting aggressively and doing something that's not good, right? Now I'm hurting somebody else. And so it's like, okay, so I'm not going to smack them. I'm just going to understand, okay, they're incorrect. The people that are coming to you and not accepting you because of these things, Anonymous, they're incorrect. They're wrong. In my opinion. Again, we're not professionals. Anything we say is for entertainment purposes only, and blah, 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 blah. Disclaimer, 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 right?
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, Akiri, you're so right. When you're traumatized, alcohol can be the easiest solution. I don't know what this is in response to. It can be the easiest solution to escape your pain. People who are addicted don't have the freedom of choosing not to get drunk, and when the other solution is unbearable pain. There are people I know also that when they start drinking, they cannot stop until they end up in the hospital. Ryan, you know people like that too.
Oh, yeah. Yep. It's very sad.
Yep.
Very sad.
And there's, and What's that born out of? I don't necessarily know, but some kind of pain. But here's the thing I've learned recently too, is that when you're trying to work through pain, numbing it does not help. And I've known this for years. And it doesn't stop me from doing things to numb the pain. And it's not just alcohol, drugs, or whatever that can, or whatever. We can do it through promiscuity, sexual promiscuity. We can do it through gaming. We can do it through eating. We can do it through shopping. We can do it through gambling. We can do it through, there's all kinds of things that we can do that numb our pain. But anytime that activity ends, our pain still exists. The issue still exists. The wound still exists, and we have to sit with it and heal from it. And sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it takes a long time, and that's hard too. When you're going through some kind of a pain like this, I would encourage you to, if you find yourself in an activity that's numbing it, I would encourage you to take a break from it, from the numbing activity, so you can face the pain in silence. And I've said this, I haven't said this in a long time, but let it wash over you. Let the pain just wash over you. Let yourself cry. Let yourself be emotional. Let yourself, whatever it is, and breathe. Cry yourself to sleep if you have to. And sit in the pain. Because through the pain will come clarity. And through clarity, you can heal. So, Anonymous, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for this issue that you're dealing with. I'm sorry I talked so long. I'm sorry that I couldn't.
I did too.
What's that?
I did too.
Yeah. It's okay. But it's a topic that, like, when you see how people act and then you get to like, okay, what causes them to act that way? Man, there's so many different things that could have caused that. And they don't even really know. And some things could be programming, some things could be cultural. And there's churches that like get this little subculture where they're like, if you don't fit in this little like thing or whatever, then you're outcast and whatever. Like, I mean, I love Amish people, but they have that kind of culture where you don't live exactly the way that they live. You are an outcast. You are shunned. Right? And to me, that's not living in a Christian way. Because like Ryan said, Jesus sat with sinners. Christ sat with sinners. The religious authorities of the day couldn't stand him. They had him put to death. Right? So it's nuts.
She shouldn't expect any different.
Right, exactly. So the problem is authority, and screw all authority. No, not necessarily. We need authority, we need leadership, but we also need leadership to be on the right track. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And thing is here, you are an autonomous being. You're free. You have free will. We don't always make free decisions because, like I said, sometimes we don't have the freedom based on history, based on, addiction, based on illness, based on all kinds of, there's all kinds of reasons that our freedom is limited. But you don't have to listen to someone else. You don't have to take their opinion as the truth, especially if they're being judgmental. Because if they're acting all judgmental on you and they're not doing it in a way that's loving and trying to heal you and trying to help, man, that's, for me, that's one of the shortest ways to get me to not listen to you ever. If you're just going to make some kind of statement and judge me, then boy, I'm going to shut you off probably for at least the rest of the day. If you're a close friend of mine, I'm probably not going to listen to you for like the rest of the day. Might be a while. But yeah, that judgment, man, it riles me up and it makes me mad.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, I believe in anarchy. An arc in every building.
An arc. I like that.
Oh, man.
It ought to be.
Don't say something anarchist. Don't say something anarchist. Yep. So here's the thing. How do we all live together? How do we, understand we all have differing opinions. And some people have opinions that are, that are really strong in some areas. And some people have triggers. And some people have weird triggers. I have weird triggers.
We all do.
Yep. Every time I see a blue house, it's a trigger. It's weird.
Oh, that's interesting. It is for me too, but it's a different kind of trigger. But I have that trigger too. Blue houses, man.
Yeah.
Depends on the shade, though. Depends on the shade of blue.
Yep. Yeah. So anyway, Anonymous, thank you for the topic. Ryan, do you have anything else to say on this?
No. I have so much more to say.
I know.
But I don't think we should have time with it. If you want us to continue the topic, we'd either start a new channel like Jeffrey is suggesting. We do Theology Thursdays, or you can ask more questions like this. Honestly, I have so much more to say, but I don't think it's worth the time. Or not. Maybe it is worth the time, but I know that we have to go. I mean, we're already 45 minutes over.
Yeah.
And but I have a lot to say. So instead of saying that, I'm just going to read something that Baca said, and I think that this is perfect. And this is from the Bible, as you'd expect. Baca quoted Romans 14:13, and it says, "Therefore, let us stop passing judgment on one another. Instead, make up your mind not to put any stumbling blocks or obstacles in the way of a brother or a sister."
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Just make up your mind not to put any stumbling blocks or obstacles in the way of your brother or your sister.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just boom. Like, literally, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That, if we just did that, man, the world would be such a better place. But instead, we like to put all sorts of stumbling blocks and watching our brothers and sisters fall, and it's horrible. But
we don't do it necessarily. We don't do it to make them stumble.
Some people do.
Some people,
but not everybody.
That's true. It's happened, and yes,
but not everybody.
People do things maliciously with malicious intent. But most of the time, it's just a mistake. Most of the time, it's just us wanting something or feeling like, we need to do something, and then it inadvertently causes somebody else to stumble, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we drive ourselves crazy, and so then we just have to ask forgiveness or just be like, man, I didn't know. You know how many times I've said that to somebody? Like, man, I had no idea that was going to make you feel that way. I am so sorry. I did not mean it at all. I've said that so many times I can't even count.
I'm sure. Me too. Happens.
And
the last thing I want to say is, Wix, I'm not saying that the Crusades were fabricated. I was just saying that the history behind it is not the one that we're told in schools or in the West in general.
Right.
And actually, if you look into it, there's a bunch of different versions of that story. And so
Well,
you
there
got
were
to get to the
multiple
bottom of it.
crusades too.
There were multiple crusades,
Yep.
and only one of them was directed by the Pope. It was the first one. And then every other one that followed was just like, hey, let's do that, except for it was the government doing it instead.
Mhm.
And then that got crazy, and they did stupid stuff, and
Yep.
that's real, but it had nothing to do with the Catholic Church or anything.
Uh-huh.
It was just they used the term because they were fired up. They're like, yeah, let's be like them, heroes.
Uh-huh.
The first crusade, the only one caused by the actual Catholic Church, went horribly. Like, so bad.
Uh-huh.
It was very uninspiring.
Yeah.
And they set out to try to rescue their brother Israelites or Jewish people because their land was being taken. And they
Uh-huh.
set out to fix that. And they failed
Uh-huh.
miserably. And then all of the other crusades after that were just people going, let's call ours a crusade, because that's inspiring. We're doing holy things. And in the name of God, in the name of justice, in the name of holiness,
In the name
and they
of the
fire
Catholic
each other up and they
Church.
go out.
But I'm a
in the name of the Catholic Church.
But I'm
Yeah.
the government leader actually, and that's why.
So I'm not saying the
Keep
whole thing's
religion and
fabricated.
politics separate.
Yeah, let's keep them separated. I think that it really works a lot better.
Keep them separate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Yeah, it was a lot of back and forth with different parties, and it's not that the church was hands off the entire time after the first one. They were still hands on, but they weren't. But there was never a crusade that was commanded by the Pope.
Wix,
or
it's
anything
interesting
than
you
the one.
say that, Wix. Wix says there's also a lot of anti-Islam sentiment. Yes, there was, because the people who were taking the land happened to be Muslim. So
That's right.
and they weren't
They
necessarily
were taking the people's
acting-
land, and
they may not have been
Yeah.
acting in in accord with the religion of Islam. They were just Muslims that were doing that.
Mm-hmm.
They may
Yeah.
have been a sect of Islam that was doing that, right? And so it's like, yeah. So we can't judge the whole religion based on the actions of the few either, right? So it's like,
Yeah, neither way. Yeah, neither way can you do that.
yeah.
You can't just say, oh, Islam or all these Muslims are bad just because, you just can't go either way with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fair. It's not true. It's not right. Yeah.
Yep.
So anyhow, it's a lot of generalization. It's a very nuanced thing,
You're
but
very right.
in the end,
Right.
it's not just, oh yeah, they committed all sorts of atrocities and were evil and did bad things. It's like, it's not like that. It's not that simple.
Maybe you are right 100%, actually, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, maybe. Maybe you're just right 100%. We all learned today.
Yeah, we did. It's nuts. But yeah, there's always more to the story. That's the thing. You know what? That's kind of my takeaway here. There's always more to the story. When someone's judging you, there's more to the story than that moment for them. You know?
Very likely, yeah.
And what they're judging you for, there's more to the story for you too. In you, there's more to the story. So when we see something happen and we make a judgment call, you can rest assured there's more to the story. When you're being presented something as fact by the news, there's more to the story than they're telling you. And if it's the news, they're probably twisting the story.
Oh, definitely.
So it's like,
absolutely, of course.
It's nuts. There's always more to the story. And until you know
money
the whole
invested.
story, you can't really make a judgment. So how do we make a judgment on anything, right? It's like, okay, we got to okay, let's just try not to hurt each other.
Yeah.
Cheese moon. I love you, Wix. Yeah, Jeff.
It just
900 years of
like
Christians wanting Jews and Muslims to get along like Christians when they're all Abrahamic. Yeah. Well, yeah, we've talked about doing Theology Thursday.
Yeah.
We kind of did. It's almost Thursday for me by now. Jeez.
Hey, we almost did a Theology Thursday. Well, it's Thursday for me, but it has been for the last many Wednesdays I've been in Australia.
Yeah, it's always Thursday for you.
Anyways, we've gone so far over, almost an entire hour.
Yeah.
So thank you guys.
But
thank you. Sorry for taking up another 10 minutes.
Yes, and this is okay because we're not going to be here next week. Next week it's Christmas Eve. for me, and it's Christmas Day for Ryan on
Yeah,
when we
right.
would be doing this show. And so, yeah, we won't be here next week. I won't be here the following week because I'll have my boys, but Ryan may be here. So, yes. So, guys, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. All of that from me. I want to wish you that. Happy holidays. If you celebrate some other kind, what they came up with a holiday on Seinfeld years and years ago. Festivus.
Oh,
Happy Festivus.
oh, Festivus. I thought it was gonna be Happy Merry. What is it? I don't know. Merry Christmas Kwanzaa, or something like that.
Like that. Yeah.
That was a thing for a while. Yeah.
Yes.
Happy Festivus. That's great.
Happy holidays. Like a lot of people celebrating holidays these days. So, guys, enjoy your time. Spend some time with people you love and love them. Do it.
And love them hard.
Yeah. Some people I love, I want to give them a big hug in the face with a chair.
With a chair. Hey, have a seat. With your face.
Yes.
I'm trying to love you right now. Just get on the chair with your face. I don't understand. I don't either.
I will bring the chair to your face. You don't even need to sit on it with your face. I'll just, yeah, there you go. Have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Wow.
All right. Love you guys so much.
Love is intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love you guys. Oh, no. Be careful, guys. Stay away from chairs and faces together. Jill loves you. So be on your best behavior and be most careful
Yes.
during these festivities.
Yes.
Bye now.
Bye. Love you guys.